shack at. The bottles getting empty up the crack and we stacking chips. All of it's what I want. Plus money winners, that's what I'm on. You can say I'm gone. I prefer elevated pub sports radio. Time to get educated, get produced. Leave the juice, letting loose with so much abuse that the bookies wanna call a truce. They getting slaughtered. Can't forget Jeff and low baggers in the chat. That's a lethal weapon. We be pubbing.
What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Happy Friday, March 17th to all of you. Thank you for watching Betting with the Bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. Does capping get more fun than this? I mean, this is just so much fun. What a wild day yesterday. In all honesty, I don't know if I've actually had a day quite like it before, where I ended up with 25 bets. I mean, we're talking massive sweats, nonstop highs and lows, just a wild roller coaster of a day. 25 bets, and I ended up plus 0.03 units. I don't know if that's ever happened. I started tracking the stats differently because 2 weeks ago, I told you guys after this spectacular 2022, the best year of my career, the 2023 gotten off to a bad start. And I was like, we have to stack winning weeks. Last week was a great week here on the show, 36 and 25 plus 10.11 units. This week, we've been in the black every day this week, but it's been pretty marginal. 2.67 units on Tuesday, 0.8 units on Wednesday, 0.03 units on Thursday. But right now, in this week, we're 28 and 23 plus 3.5 units. We have to stack winning weeks. It is truly imperative. The contest was so much fun yesterday. So much fun. Shout out to Die Hard MMA podcast. Clint McLean on top of our leaderboard. A spectacular 13 points there with Dre Machi tied up on top. Very fun watching Clint roll. In that second group, there's three cappers in the second group. Alex Hills, J-Dub, and Matty Ice. Three cappers we love here. And then right under that group, there's a bigger group led by Garcia Gaming, Dennis Garcia, T-Max, Spenny Pennybombs, Peter Loshak, Buck Nasty, Razor Sharp Picks, Res Mob. He who remains, I'm sure nameless was the fourth word of that, but he who remains the only capper of us, I believe there's 52 of us, over 50, but the only capper to take Princeton to defeat Arizona. He who remains. He's sitting at 11 points. DabyCab is at 10 points. Nasty Nate, 10 points. My mom at 10 points. Alex, Sean Mosler, Jeff Shahadi, Nuke Worker, all at 10 points. Ray Charles, Jay Peasy. And then I'm at 9 points with Rod Zawacki, Slaughter, Birdie, Billy Friedrich, Preston, Bobano. Bobano has the wildest Final Four of any capper. I was going over the Final Fours and stuff last night. Bobano has Florida Atlantic and VCU in the Final Four. Big balls on Bobano. Big balls banging around. So a lot of fun there. So shout out to all you guys. It's really, really fun. I enjoy this so much, man. I'm just so thankful, man. I love this so much. I love capping with you guys. I love the sweats, the all-night sweats, all this sweats. But we have to stack winning weeks, and in 6 days, I land in San Antonio, baby. Texas is calling my name, and I will heed its call. Shout out to all the cappers rolling with us. Dan Kelly says two things bode poorly for USC: a 9:20 a.m. body clock, West Coast start time, and Michigan State familiarity of playing in Value City Arena every year. I'd like to move on Michigan State, but I've held off. We're going to have Bobano here shortly. Also, DabyCab joining us. DabyCab will be here for the first 8 games. So the first 8 games, we'll cap with Bobano and DabyCab, and that leads up to 4:30. All the post 5 p.m. games, if you want DabyCab's looks, got to watch Net Profits, DabyCab and Connor Mack. That pops off at 5 p.m. And then DabyCab's got a busy day, man. But it's March Madness. DabyCab's got a busy day. Tonight, 7 p.m., we have March Madness Mayhem. Of course, DabyCab, very, pitcher drafted in the majors. He's got some pitching lessons to give out beforehand. So he's going to be a little bit late for that. But Razor Sharp Picks going to pop that off at 7 p.m. Also, Razor Sharp Picks on Equine Edge at 2 p.m. Eastern today. Razor Sharp Picks doing big things, and we want to promote and help Razor, and he's got a big show with Equine Edge today at 2 p.m. Eastern. I love it. Dan Kelly says maybe take USC at halftime if they're down by more than 6. That's a great idea. Or Michigan State race to 10. I love it. There's Viper MB in the house. DabyCab says they had breakfast at 7 a.m. standard, regardless what time the game is or where it is. Interesting. DabyCab. Oh, a little another man who got a full ride in college as well. So he knows what it is and what it isn't. Wine Time Sports in the house. Fat Wally says, happy St. Patty's Day to all of you. Yes, happy St. Patty's Day to all of you. Justin McElvey, 13-4 yesterday. I had a boy, Justin. And there it is. SOKK says, after 28 hours in labor, our boy Micah Jade is here. Micah, that's wonderful, wonderful news. SOKK. Micah, great name. Congratulations to your family, man. That's wonderful, wonderful news. It's huge. And what a great way to start the show out. SOKK, second son, Micah in the house. Respect, man. Respect. Spenny Penny Bombs ready to get to work. Jay Smooth, Andrew G, Danny Lopez, Coco Bongo says the end of the Furman game was crazy. Can you believe that? I mean, I don't. To see Kale, I mean, this guy leads the ACC record minutes played on. To think that he wouldn't call a timeout there, or that Bennett wouldn't call a timeout. They deserve what they got. They deserve to rue the consequences of those decisions. Tori Coker, Slatsy 45 says, tailed the college cappers for a 4-1 night in baskets. And there's Razor Sharp Picks, 5-3 day yesterday, 6-0 last 6. Gambler's first glance. He has a $400 Gambler's first glance today. Can't wait to hear it. Dan Kelly says maybe Jimmy's mom should be giving us her place. She has Furman in the Sweet 16. Speaking of Sweet 16, and I wanted to wait till we get to that game because it's 9:55. But without any discussion between us, both Pistol Pete Loshak and I have Kent State to reach the Sweet 16. Fat Wally, New Quirker, Jesse Gomez, Tori Coker took Kennesaw State plus 12.5, and Vermont game over 143. There's Nasty Nate, RVD 420, Sky Dragon won his 2 biggest bets of the day yesterday, Furman and Maryland, but came out well ahead. Beautiful. Great work, DG. Andrew G. Slatsy says Habs Panthers over was the easiest bet I've ever made. 8 minutes. It took 8 minutes for us to cash the over. Jay Peasy, Rob Garvey, Nunya, Spenny Pennybombs, Dre Machi, Adrian Bird. Dre Machi, great job. Dre Machi and our guy, Clint, battling on top. Dre Machi, excellent work. There's JT Eel in the house. AOD Rez Mob says, I haven't been given credit for Houston. I should have one more point. I don't know if that has been updated yet. Here, let's just go to the bracket. Yes, none of us have at that point. So don't worry. And none of us have our championship game totals in. This is the first year doing it on our website. We'll fix all these things, and Houston will be updated in a second. And none of us have been given credit for Houston, so no worries about any of that. So everyone has one more winning than showing. Exactly, Dan. Beautifully put. AOD, a gifted cartel hidden 18 parlay. Razor Sharp Pick says, so we must think FAU wins today. So do I. It's so hard to bet against Memphis, and we already know that DabyCab's on Memphis first half. I believe he'll come up here and tell us about that. But let's get right to work here. The totals are saved, though. That's a great point. Thank you, Jose. The totals are saved, so everybody's total is there. Not to worry. Spenny Pennybomb says Kent State losing to Indiana tonight. That's why they're 4.5 point dogs, Spenny. It's because the market and the gamblers believe they're going to lose to Indiana. So I get it. Mike M says Furman won, and I immediately thought of Mama Bags winner. Thank you, Mike M. Mike M running so hot that Tennessee under. Thankfully, 2 days ago, I saw the Pimp Slap play of the day was against me, and I was like, oh, great. I can kind of chalk that up as loss. This time we were on the same page. Ryan Mueller, Lucky Lefty. What a great group. Rocco Rogers, Colin Clips, Jake Kleiser, Von Polo, Rodney M, Imp 13, Occupancy. Gregory Simmons in the house. Gregory Simmons says Arizona wasn't ready. I love seeing Arizona get bounced. I did have them in the Elite Eight, unfortunately, but that's as much as I had them. And I have a different pool of 90-point pool, whereas one seed costs 16 points. You have 90 points to work with. It's a great pool idea. And I didn't have Arizona. A bunch of people did, so I hope it hurts them. Sky Dragon on Sparty, Party -2 in first half under 63.5. Alfred coming off a monster day. A lot of us coming off monster days there. Shout out to all you guys. I hope I saturated. Hope I got to all you guys. Drew B, Jay Peasy, all you guys. Much love. Nunya, because you all deserve it. Rob Garvey. All right, so we have a huge day ahead of us. DC Capper, Jarek White. Just a quick review of yesterday. So yesterday for me, it was a foul with 0.7 seconds left, a needless nonsense foul by Charleston that cost me the winning day. I went 7-7 down 0.8 units in college basketball. Upsetting. West Virginia -2.5 was a loss. West Virginia, Maryland, first half under was a win. Virginia -5.5 was a loss. Missouri +1.5 was a win. Utah State, Missouri, first half under 72.5 was a win. Kansas team total over 84.5 was a win. Charleston +5.5 was a loss. Arizona team total over 84.5 was a loss. Illinois +2 a loss. Colgate +13 a loss. Northwestern -1.5 a win. North Kentucky, Houston under 121.5 was a win. There was a great cap here on the show, as well as the Louisiana, Tennessee under 135.5. That was a win. And then I lost on Texas A&M at the end of the day. Let's get to work. This is going to be a lot of fun. We are not going to have the games under the graphics for the first 8 of them. The next 8, because DabyCab is only doing the first 8. He'll then we'll have the graphics underneath, but we won't for the first bit. Let's go. Let's bring on your first guest. He is the star of these Fridays and having a great college basketball season. He's also the star, one of our stars of our college content here on Pub Sports Radio, coming to us from Canada's steel town, black and yellow. Please welcome to the show from Hamilton, Ontario, Ian Cameron. Bobano, how are you, my friend?
Doing well, Jimmy. I mean, 0.8 must be the stat of the day for people, whether they're for their results, because you said down 0.8 units. I was up 0.8 units yesterday, so 0.8 seems to be very popular. But like I say, we grinded out some profit yesterday. Happy with the first day. I wasn't happy with the entertainment factor. You know, there were a couple games that were thrilling. Furman was a great game. Great upset. Princeton was a shocking upset. But could we have ended the night with a more of a whimper than we did? It was blowout city everywhere at the end of the night there. What a horrible way to end the first day, but hopefully we got some more drama in play today.
I was so enormously pumped up, though. Like, I had very tough time sleeping. I was just like, I'm so pumped up. So excited about what we get to do day in and day out. Mike M says Penn State. That was a thing of beauty. I've never quite had a day like this that I remember. Yesterday, Bobana 13-12 plus 0.03 units. I don't know if I've ever had in my whole life.
I've had many of those days before. Plus 0.003 and down 0.003, especially with my style of betting. It's high volume, low units. So I can have days like that. Trust me. Many.
Yeah, but that was just 0.03. I don't think I've quite hit before. Let's bring on your next guest. He's coming off a 4-1 day here with picks he gave out on the show. He's now in the black on the season here on the show. I know he's in the black for him on the season, and his Saturday's best bets have been crushing. But now the circle is complete. Please welcome from Dallas, Texas. We're going to be hanging out in 6 days, man. Please welcome the Magic Man. I shouldn't have given you this nickname. The
Abracadabra. Yeah.
I hope you don't hate it.
I mean, it's cool, man.
I don't know where it came from, but the Magic Man, Abracadabra in the house. What up, Dabby? How are you?
Good, man. I don't know if you saw what I dropped in the chat there, but I'm all over Miami today. So Amir playing, expected to go today. Just saw the news on that. Fucking epic. That's huge. We want him down low.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very, very fun day. Let's get right to work because there's a move I would like to make on this game one. I've made 3 bets on today's board already. I'm on. I didn't know that Bobano had VCU going to the Final Four. Till I legitimately, no joke.
We are going to totally disagree on that game because I think St. Mary's is totally vulnerable today for multiple reasons.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about the game. As I've spent a lot of time on it too. But that one, I legitimately made the St. Mary's bet, and then I'm not joking. 45 seconds later, I clicked on your bracket. And then seeing you taking VCU to the finals made me laugh hysterically.
I've got some ballsy Final Four picks. You can't say my bracket's fucking boring. You can't.
It's not boring at all.
Taking all the favorites. Not possible.
Spenny says VCU all day. Very sexy pick, VCU. Just like Utah State. Very sexy pick. In
Fuck
Boise
Utah State.
Very sexy picks. And then I've got Vermont plus 10.5. And then, of course, I close with Kent State.
Catamounts.
Let's get to work here. Great to have all of you guys here. March Madness, baby. Pub Sports Radio. Let's get to work. 12:15 p.m. Eastern. The East Region first round. Number 10 seed USC Trojans. Let's get all that up here. And if there weren't disagreements, it wouldn't be fun.
That's right.
This is part of what makes it so much fun. So let's get to work here. Let's start with the line history, then the cash flow. I've come multiple times. I've come close to moving on Michigan State, and now is the time. I think I got to move on it here in the next 15 minutes. I plan to, but I want to hear your guys' analysis. At Pinnacle, this opened up at -2. It just moved to -2.5 2 minutes ago. 2 minutes ago, Pinnacle has moved it to 2.5. Totals wise, this opened up at 137.5. That's exactly where it is now. There's no movement there. Let's go over to the cash flow. 36% of the tickets, 39% of the cash is on USC. Total-wise, 60% of tickets, 65% of cash is on the under, and it's not moving there. LJ from H-Town in the house. Jimmy Gomez, Galactic High. Great to see you, Galactic High. Markel, Cheshire Cat, Rance, Sweaty Butcher. Great to see you guys. Both teams enter off losing their opening game in their respective conference tournaments as favorites. USC comes in off losing to Arizona State in the quarters of the pack, 12 as 5-point favorites. Michigan State comes in off losing 68-58 in the Big Ten quarters to Ohio State as 6-point favorites. I think Dan Kelly's note on the body clock for USC is important. It was something that DabyCab touched on. So you know what? Why don't we just start there, DabyCab? You didn't seem to be in agreement with what I thought did make sense. Take it away, DabyCab. Your thoughts on the body clock thing that we just spoke about, and then your look on the game.
It doesn't matter what sport you play across the board. There's going to be a team breakfast. If you're on the road, there's going to be a team breakfast at 7 a.m. It doesn't matter football, basketball, baseball. And the whole point of that is because of the body clock, right? If they let them sleep until 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and then they're supposed to go out there and warm up for an hour, they're going to be shit. These kids haven't been awake for an hour. They've been awake for 3.5, 4 hours. So yeah, it's not something that concerns me too much. I get it. It makes sense. Like logically, it makes perfect sense. But like I said, they've been awake for 3.5, 4 hours. If they can't get their brain going in 4 hours, I don't know I can't help them. Are
you moving on this game, Trojans, Spartans?
I've bet USC first half. So I am on the points with USC first half. It's not my favorite bet of the day, but I don't put any weight to that. I bet everything the exact same. I bet to win 1 unit. I'm on USC here first half. You know, this USC team, they've been putting up 72.8 points per game. You look at Michigan State, they're pretty equal there, 70.2 on the season. USC's done it on a 41.8% shooting clip, 38.1% from three. And on defense, they've been really good, 67.3 points allowed this season. This is just a USC team that I think a lot of people are remembering that Arizona State game where they lost recently. Arizona State, they ran into a buzzsaw right there. Cambridge couldn't fucking miss. Literally didn't miss a shot like the whole first half of the game. And Arizona State, I think Arizona State might get rolling. I wish I had them going further in my bracket because I think this team might be getting hot again at the right time. All that being said, before that game and including that game, USC's won 5 of their last 7. They've scored more than 73 points in their last 3 games. Michigan State, you know, they can shoot the 3. That's all fine and dandy. But if they're not hitting their threes, I don't see any reason why USC doesn't not only cover but win this game.
USC first half, was this a spot that you tweeted out?
Mm-hmm.
What was the line you got?
+1, -110, I think. Let me double check.
+1, -110. Okay, let me know if that is.
Yeah, it is. Sucks because there's a 1.5 out there now, but it is what it is. +1, -110.
Bobano, East Region, first round. This game pops off in 54 minutes. Trojans, Spartans, take it away.
Yeah, I have a small bet on the other side, Michigan State, but it's nothing substantial, and it's not going to be an official play. It's just these are two teams I'm really not all that confident in right now. the fact remains, though, this is a very veteran-laden Michigan State team with Walker and with Malik Hall and with Hogard and with Hauser. These are guys that can really light it up offensively. The key is what's going to happen today, against this USC team, and it is that early start, as Dabby mentioned, for USC, which does concern me a little bit here in this game, but. We just saw Michigan State lose to Ohio State, a very porous Ohio State team in the Big Ten tournament. So, but I just think at the end of the day, I like the guards of Michigan State. I'm not enamored with what Enfield's done or not done in the tournament in recent years with USC. So I think I give Izzo a little bit of a coaching advantage in this matchup. I don't like the way USC played, certainly down the stretch. I think they kind of limped their way into the tournament as well. These are two teams that's difficult to trust. And but I trust the Michigan State just acumen a little bit more, and I'm on them in this game. But again, it's not going to be an official play. It's just a small bet for me to get the day started.
I would like to make it a bet. I would like to bet this, and I don't know if I will now. So Mike M giving up notes. Pac-12 18-0 against the spread, plus 11.64 points per game in the NCAA tournament. As dogs more than a point if they scored less than 74 points last game, playing a team ranked better than a 9 seed. Says USC plus 2 spot. And then we already have heard from Razor Sharp Picks, he's on USC plus 2. So, I have Michigan State in my brackets, and maybe that's enough action for me here. Can you touch on this total, Bobano? It hasn't moved.
Yeah, early start, and I don't really trust either team offensively consistently, that is. So I'd lean under, but no play.
Alec is on the over in this spot. Thank you for sharing that, all that with us. Alec going to copy and paste it. Spenny has USC in his bracket, and he's on the money line. Okay, well, and an interesting point from Johnny Gunn saying that with the amount of money that's on Michigan State, that he would want it to have moved, a point. Bookmaker and Bet Chris now have Michigan State -2 at -118. I feel like that's okay. I've made my decision. It's just not going to produce a positive ROI to choose to be against Mike M and Razor Sharp Picks. So I will leave Michigan State off of my action. Even saying that, I just start sweating.
Didn't mention Cab though, yeah.
Well, Cab's first half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, Cab, do your first half.
I'm first half. You're right.
That's a different scenario here than a full game bet. If you had moved on the full game, that would
we've been on opposite sides, different halves in the last couple weeks, and both cash too.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna let it go. It's funny. I sweat when I bet, and I also start dripping when I let something go. Whew. All right, letting it go. Nuke Workers on USC money line plus 120. All right, so the only official play here we have on the first game popping off in 40 minutes is DabyCab. He is on USC first half plus 1. Dan Kelly, let's just finish this with Dan Kelly. Nuke Worker on the money line. Dan Kelly says, of course, USC been doing a routine to adapt to the early start, but what you see that happens in sports all the time is that players with start times that they aren't used to are just slightly off, enough to make a difference. It is data that I've been tracking for 30 years, and like all sports data, it's just marginal, but it's all you can ask for. That's beautifully put. There's Ski Profit in the house. Yes, Sky Dragon Jose is back in action. He's got World Baseball Classic picks for us at the end of the show, and he's also hosting a Saturday live stream. Let's get to work here. McElvey says, I tailed Cab and Razor, USC first half and full game. Okay.
Of which, by the way, I might pop in for just a few minutes tomorrow, Jose's stream. He asked if I could join, and I'll try to pop in for a few minutes there just to say hello and join in for a little bit tomorrow.
Beautiful. Yeah, we have a huge weekend ahead of us at Pub. Huge weekend. Live streams nonstop. So Friday night, Cab and Razor. Saturday, we have our UFC and Jose's World Baseball Classic and basketball. Then Sunday night live from me. So it's going to be huge. All right, let's move on. 12:40 p.m. Eastern, Midwest region, first round. The number 14 seed Kennesaw State Owls, 26-8 versus the 3 seed Xavier Musketeers, 25-9. We're in Greensboro Coliseum in North Carolina. Let's start with the line history here on this one. We have Xavier opening up at minus 11. They're now at minus 12.5. Totals wise, this opened up at 151.5. It's now at 152. Take a look at the cash flow here on this one. You have 66% of the tickets and 85% of the cash on Kennesaw State, and the market is moving towards Xavier. Clearly the books are opening up their arms to Kennesaw State money. 68% of the tickets and 83% of the cash on the under. This under got all the way up to 153.5. It was 153.5 this morning at 9 a.m., and it's dropped 1.5 points here. So Kennesaw State closed the season in impressive fashion, winning 16 of 18 games. That included a home victory in the A-Sun final over a tough Liberty squad as 5.5-point dogs. Xavier comes in off having their 5-game winning streak snapped in the Big East Conference final, 65-51 to Marquette as 2-point dogs. That was an impressive 15-5 Big East Conference play record there. Take it away here for us. We'll go over to our guy, Bobano. We'll keep switching back and forth. Bobano, take it away. Midwest region, 12:40 p.m. Pop-off, Kennesaw State, Xavier.
Yeah, I'm going to look to Kennesaw here, plus the points. It's just this is a pretty good offensive basketball team. Xavier's got the makings of a team that's not going to win games comfortably, and I don't trust this defense as 12-point favorites against a Kennesaw State team that can throw some pretty good. Like this is a team that I watched them quite a bit in their run in the Atlantic Sun tournament. And going all the way, and the team they beat, Liberty, is a pretty good basketball team. They've got a lot of elements that are going to make them a tough out today. Against this Xavier team, they got 3-point shooting. They've got guys that can score around the rim. Their defense isn't bad. They're going to push pace, and what I like about that is they're not going to be in off the way Xavier is going to want to play here in this game. It's not the easiest draw at all for Xavier. They're very athletic. Again, they can shoot the 3 ball. They got their top 50 team in terms of perimeter shooting. That's definitely going to be a concern here for Xavier. And you look at how sometimes their defense came and went throughout the course of the season. I think that's definitely going to be something that will be a concern for them, and it should concern Sean Miller as well for Xavier going into this game. So there's elements to me with when you got, and we saw it yesterday, certainly with Furman. Why did Furman beat Virginia? Oh, yeah, they made threes down the stretch. Virginia didn't. That's such an important element of NCAA tournament basketball. And this is a really good 3-point shooting team here at Kennesaw. And I think it has them in this game at the very least. And look, they don't even have to they don't have to be right in it down the stretch. We're getting 12.5 points here. A lot of points with a solid team. Yeah, I'm on Kennesaw here plus a 12.5. And I'm also going to play this total up and over as well. You're certainly going to get a good amount of pace. Kennesaw pushes the pace. Xavier pushes the pace. I find when you got two teams that are willing to just push that basketball, it plays well, obviously, if you're looking at an over. So we're going to go with that as well here, the over 152.5.
Let's lock that over 152. I got over 152.
Oh, even better.
Over Fantastic. 152. That is at Pinnacle at minus 110. Bovada has also dropped it to 152. Over 152 at minus 110. Bobano got Kennesaw State plus 12.5. That's at minus 102. That's 5 dimes. Of course, we are line shopping for the best lines. Take it away, DabyCab, Kennesaw State Owls, Xavier Musketeers.
Yeah, man. I'll piggyback on what Bobano said here. This Kennesaw State team putting up 75.6 points per game. That's 89th in the nation. They only allow 69 points per game, so that's above average at 148. They're doing it on a 46% shooting clip, which is pretty great. 36.9% from 3. And what Ian said was huge. So I was on Virginia first half, and I'm watching that game thinking what he just said. They didn't make a fucking single 3 the whole first half. I was like, they're not going to cover this. They did, and I'm glad they did for me. But you need to be able to shoot the 3 in this NCAA tournament. It makes such a difference. I mean, Virginia could be up by 9, 10, 11 points, and it was like in the blink of an eye, they were right back. It was a tie game, and you can't have that. Kennesaw State's covered 2 straight, 4 of their last 5, and they have that firepower to at least keep it close. Do I think they're going to win the game? No, I don't. But I think they can keep it close. Xavier's failed to cover in 3 of their last 4, and since they lost Fremantle, their leading scorer, they're 6 and 7 ATS against a team with their winning record. Kennesaw State is 8 and 12 ATS. So that's, a lot of things pointing towards Kennesaw State here. I like Kennesaw State. I haven't bet this one.
Yeah, I'm not going to move on Kennesaw State in this spot, but I will cheer on Bobano and those of you who are on it and on the over. Shout out to Jeffrey Blue. Says at the hospital, the boy is coming today. Back to back, low bag babies here. Jeffrey Blue and SOKK. Wonderful, wonderful news. So cool, man. So wonderful. We are all thinking of you, Jeffrey Blue, and your family and the great addition there. It's wonderful. March Madness babies, low bag babies. And Jose says our chat is fertile as hell. All right, let's move on here. So Kennesaw State for Bobano plus 12.5 in the over 152 and minus 110. Let's move on to 1:30 p.m. Eastern for us. The number 14 seed UC Santa Barbara Guachos 27-7 versus number 3 seed Baylor Bears 22-10. We're at Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado. Lobagalin, yeah, I was thinking of Lobagalin as well, Dan. The very first Lobag baby, sweet Lobagalin. She's got to be 4 or 5 now, Lobagalin. Let's take a look at the line history here. I was pretty big on UC Santa Barbara, against UC Fullerton, and I haven't gone back to the well. Obviously, Baylor has been underwhelming of late. We'll go over those 2 losses to Iowa State back-to-back. I lost on Baylor in that second match against Iowa State. It was a double-up spot, so I cashed the first half out of a fluke. Remember, we watched that here. It was a 3-pointer at the buzzer that got us the cash there. I probably didn't deserve that. UC Santa Barbara opening up at plus 10. They're now plus 11. That plus 11 is juiced. This total opened up at 144.5. It's dropped all the way down to 141. So we have a 3.5 point drop there. By the way, USC plus 3 now. Wow. Rodney M. and Sweaty Butcher saying USC now plus 3. Wow. Okay, let's take a look at the cash flow here for this one. 48% of the tickets and 76% of the cash is on UC Santa Barbara. You know, that's 109,000 tickets in. Those bets, 3 of every $4 coming in on UC Santa Barbara on the spread is not moving the line towards them. The total-wise, this has 67% of tickets and 85% cash on the under, and it's dropped. It has dropped. So after going 15-5 in Big West Conference play, UC Santa Barbara comes in off its 7th straight win, 72-62 over Cal State Fullerton to win the Big West tourney as 2.5 point favorites. Baylor comes in off a disappointing 87-72 loss to Iowa State in the Big 12 quarters as 5 point favorites. It was their 2nd straight loss to Iowa State. It was their 3rd loss in their last 5 games. Take it away, DabyCab. We'll start with you. UC Santa Barbara, Baylor.
This is a Baylor team that's, sometimes tough to cap because, they've got such a dominant offense, 2nd highest adjusted offense efficiency in college basketball. Finished the season 38th in 3-point range, 56 in free throw percentage. So they shoot the ball great, but defensively, there's a lot left to desire with this Baylor team. They're 105th in adjusted defense efficiency, but I think that number is a little too high for how they play. All that being said, Baylor has good wins this year. They beat UCLA, they beat Kansas, they beat Texas, they beat Gonzaga, they beat TCU. I can keep going. They've got some huge wins on the season. This is still a very good Baylor basketball team. But I think in this game right here, these teams are built similarly. Offense is going to come first. This going to be an offensive output. And you look at Santa Barbara, 5-0 on neutral court, straight up, 4-0-1 against the spread. I think they're going to be able to score here on Baylor. I don't think they're going to win, but I think they can keep it close, kind of like we were talking with the last game. I'm not betting this one, especially with the way you said all the money's coming in on the other side and they're not moving it. That worries me a little bit. But yeah, I'd lean with the points here.
I'm starting to think about the other side now. Is this an angry Baylor team? I kind of like they have to be questioning everything. They're not going to come in confident. Johnny Gunn says hammer the over. We'll see if Bobano does that. But is this right where we want Baylor here? Angry, questioning themselves, a team that's we've seen succeed in this type of pressure situation. Take it away, Bobano. Santa Barbara, Baylor. You're muted, my guy.
See, I did a cabbie there with that.
No, is that what we're calling it now?
I know Cab's going to appreciate that. It only does it 8 times during the Saturday show on the Saturday morning on the Pub Hub, but that's okay. That's my ode to DabyCab doing that to me. But When I look at this game here, I think USCSB can hang. I'm certainly not going to lay doubles with Baylor here. I mean, you look at their inconsistency throughout the course of the season. It's a bother for me. They didn't guard well enough throughout the course of the season. They were shredded inside. And the thing is, UCSB has some size in that paint, which is not always the case with the mid-major team. This team does. So, they score a lot around the basket. That is definitely going to be something where they might be able to exploit this Baylor team. And it's surprising that they've been that porous defensively around them, especially with JTT back, Jonathan Chachua, but he just hasn't made that big defensive impact we thought he would upon his return. They do have an excellent perimeter. That backcourt is potential to be spectacular. They have so much there with Pryor, with Flagler, and obviously Keontae George. That's definitely a group that you have to be reckoned with if you're UCSB going into this game. But I don't know. This Baylor team was just not exactly a team that I trusted. I'm going to grab 10.5 here with UCSB as an official play. I lean over, but I'm just going to go with the side here in this one, although it's dropped. Wow. I didn't expect it to drop this much. See, when I saw this total, the last time I looked at it, it was about a day or two ago, this total was up around the 144 and a half range. I'm seeing it now as low as 140 and a half at Heritage now. So this total is now getting to the point where I think I'm going to jump in on that over too now. I think it's dropping a little bit now to the point where I'm a little more interested in it. So 140 and a half, we'll go with the over at that number at Heritage minus 110.
You got it. And also an interesting point with this total, when it was first offered at Pinnacle at 8:45 p.m., I guess that is Sunday. It went up a full point in 1 minute. So the first action was on the over up to 145 and a half. So since then, it's dropped all the way down. Right now at Pinnacle, it's at 141, juiced to the under. And we've seen that's moved to 140 and a half. Let's line shop for you on the side here as well very quickly before. You know what? I'll line shop while DabyCab gives. Oh, no, you've dropped your analysis already. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so we're good here. So let me just grab the side here. So here we go. We have for you, we can get you a plus 11 at minus 114.
Hey, you're going to have to help me. BetStamp's not working for me right now.
Cool. So we'll give you
a lot of things that haven't been working for me the last couple of days, but
oh no,
another story. No.
Plus 11 at minus 114. We'll give you that right now on UC Santa Barbara. Just touch on this quickly before we move on here. Wow, Leonard Porsche says UCSB beat writer said on the radio this morning he truly believes Baylor wins by 20. JPZ says Baylor's going to win by 30. JPZ has this to say, and touch on this, Bobano, says UCSB's played one top 100 team all year, UC Irvine, who recently beat them by 11 in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, that's a fair point. You can only play who's on your schedule. And Baylor does have an athleticism edge, we believe, although don't be fooled by some of these players with UCSB. I mean, if you watch this team play, I'm impressed with I was impressed with how well they guarded around the rim, which is actually more than I can say for Baylor much of the season. I was impressed with the athleticism from a lot of their players on this basketball team. I think A.J. Mitchell's a terrific player, Calvin Wishart. Guys like they have definitely got, and don't sleep on Josh Pierre-Louis either. I mean, this is a team that's actually got a little size. They can make some three balls. Their 3-point shooting's not bad. And again, if Baylor's plays Baylor's game and they play their absolute best, let's say they max level performance from Baylor, they'll obviously win and they'll probably cover. But we have not seen that Baylor game to game all season long. And that's why it's, for me personally, difficult to lay doubles with them. All right, we're finally in at BetStamp here, Jimmy. There's actually plus 11, minus 115 at PointsBet right now showing on there with UCSB. And we can get the total at over 141, minus 104 at Pinnacle. So there we go.
Okay, because, we got you the plus 11, minus 114 at Pinnacle.
Perfect.
So there's no 140 and a half then on the total?
Let me just see here. There's 139 and a half, but it's with juice at ProLine Plus. I'll just go with the 141 minus 104. All
right, let's give you that over 141 and minus 104. All right, A game I'm so excited to talk about here, where as soon as I made the bet, I clicked on Bobano's bracket and saw that he has VCU in the Final Four. I'm on St. Mary's here, West Virginia, first round, the number 12 seed VCU Rams, 27-7 versus number 5 St. Mary's Gaels, 22-10 MVP Arena in Albany, New York. Let's start with the line history here for this one. We have St. Mary's opening up at -4 at -104. They're -4 right now at -107. It did get to 4.5. It also initially went down to 3.5 2 minutes after it opened. It got to 4.5 on Monday, and it's been at 4 all week. Slightly juiced towards St. Mary's. Oh, sorry. Let's take a look at the total here. This total, move over here. This total opened up at 123.5, dropped a half point to 123. And then let's pull up the cash flow here. St. Mary's has 66% of the tickets on them, 105,000 in, 58% of the cash. This has changed. So there was 36% of the cash on St. Mary's, maybe at least last night for sure, and also early this morning. So there is some money coming in on St. Mary's today. 30% of the tickets and 56% of the cash is on the under. So 30 and 56, it's dropped a half point here. VCU comes in off their 9th straight win, 68-56 over Dayton is 1.5 point. God, I think they're 1.5 point favorites. I don't have that here. I'm certain they're 1.5 point favorites in the A10 championship. They were 15-3 in conference. They rolled through the conference tournament. They defeated Davidson, St. Louis, and Dayton all by double digits. They're a really good squad, and everybody that I've looked at and listened to has VCU beating St. Mary's. St. Mary's comes in off losing badly to Gonzaga in the finals of the West Coast Conference Tournament as 2.5 point dogs. I like that a lot. That's why I'm close. That's why I kind of lean towards Baylor a little. But I saw enough to make me uncomfortable with Baylor, whereas I didn't with St. Mary's. There are two losses against Gonzaga in the last week of the year, but they were 14-2 in conference. The only other loss they had in conference was, in overtime at Loyola Marymount. Out of conference, they lost to the number 1 seed Houston Cougars by 5. They beat San Diego State 68-61. I see this as a really good basketball team. They've had to travel all the way from California to Albany for this one. They feel like they're underdogs. They hate to travel. They feel like they're underdogs. They see St. Mary's and they see people backing VCU, and they're talking about it. And now they feel like they're underdogs. You have a 5 seed that are underdogs. Their net offense and defense is very, very good. I think this is a very good team, and I'm benefiting off an A10 conference that I don't think is as strong as the West Coast Conference. And I know there's going to be a lot of debate on that, and that's fair. But I'm benefiting off VCU rolling through Davidson, St. Louis, and Dayton. And I am on St. Mary's -4. Bobano, tell me why I am wrong, my friend, and why you're backing VCU.
We don't know you're wrong yet. We'll find out in a few hours. But the last couple things you said are actually an advantage for St. Mary's. I do think West Coast Conference was better this year than the A10. I do like that idea of St. Mary's losing the conference championship, the extra time, which they'll have, and VCU coming off, a roll to the A10 championship on Sunday. And sometimes those teams off a conference championship the previous Sunday going into the first tournament game are a little bit vulnerable. So those two things do support St. Mary's a little bit. I don't know, though, if the matchup supports them. Here's the things that I think definitely line up for VCU. Number one is the spot and the schedule and the location. Okay, St. Mary's got to go all the way out to Albany, New York. So it's a West Coast to East Coast travel for the Gaels. That's not ideal. They're far away from home. They're playing an 11 a.m. Pacific start time on their body clock. That's not good for St. Mary's. The location's not good. The start time's not good. And if you actually look at the St. Mary's profile of this team this year, they struggled against teams that press. They struggle to hang on to the basketball against teams that press, and that's what VCU is going to do to them here today. Can they not turn it over? Can they be strong with the ball, make good decisions? That's a big question mark because we've seen St. Mary's crumble at times under that. Gonzaga just gave them fits with that during the regular season. So that does concern me big time for the Gaels going into this game. If they do value the basketball, they do run efficient offense. Can they get to that point? That's the question. And the thing that I like about VCU is they're playing their best at the right time. They've got everybody healthy finally, which is great to see. Their offense, which had been kind of erratic throughout the course of the season, really started to step up, really started to find their form in that A-10 tournament led by Adrian/Ace Baldwin, of course, Jalen Deloach, who was a handful and a nightmare, swooping in on the glass. And, St. Mary's has Saxon, pretty good big. And obviously they've got an incredible player in Mahaney. Aiden Mahaney's phenomenal. And he's the kind of guy that can win this game for St. Mary's if it's close late with big-time shot making. But that ability to face this press and not turn it over, which has been a problem at times for St. Mary's, is ultimately why I like VCU, especially because they're a dog here, plus 4.5. The location is better for VCU. The start time for the game is better for VCU. They ship St. Mary's all the way out to the East Coast. That can't be good for the Gaels, especially in terms of getting a following out there to watch their game today. So I think the matchup is a little bit better for VCU. I think the location and the situation is better for VCU. The number is good. We're getting 4.5 with the Rams in this game. So VCU for me. And I think if they win this game, they have the potential maybe to make a little bit of a run, as you will see in my bracket.
VCU for you. There's no 4.5s offshore. You have one on the
early in the week. Let me see what's out there now, because you're right. They might have disappeared. But yeah, it was 4.5 when I bet it a few days ago. Let me just see here. VCU.
Why don't you see if we can find a 4.5? A big Mastro. I want to be on Michigan State. Bobano is a small bet on Michigan State. Dan Kelly's on Michigan State. But Razor is on.
4.5 minus 115 at BetMGM. There we go.
Plus 4.5 for VCU at minus 115 for Bobano. So it kept me off Michigan State. We also saw the line just go to 3 and then bounce right back to 2. So that's the story, Big Master. And thank you for popping in. All right. Slatsy says it best. He says, Dabby about to break the tie between Ian and Jimmy. We'll see. We'll see if he's about to break the tie or he's not interested in this spot. DabyCab, take it away. MVP Arena in Albany, New York for West Region first round VCU St. Mary's.
Okay, real quick. Everybody hear this because, Jimmy, you're humble, you're awesome, and you don't say it. We got 330 plus people in here. Look, we don't just sit here and read stats to you and then tell you to buy our fucking picks. We literally tell you exactly what we're betting, and all we ask is that you hit the like and share the fucking channel. So go in there. Don't be fucking lazy. Pick up your thumb and press the button. It's super fucking simple, and thank you. We appreciate every single one of you. Now I'll get back to this game. Okay, look, I'm not betting it, so I guess I'm not going to break the tie here, but I can understand where Ian's going here. This VCU team, winners of 9 straight, which that was part of your cap too, Jimmy. I heard you saying you think they may be coming here fat and happy, which makes sense. But they've done that on their defense, which is 17th in the nation in defensive efficiency, which is, great. And I think they're going to cause problems for St. Mary's because St. Mary's is slow, extremely slow. They have 359th tempo in college basketball. And if you have that slow of a tempo, God, I can't talk this morning. If you have that slow of a tempo and the defense is creating turnovers, that's going to be a hard margin for St. Mary's to cover with such a slow pace. So that's why I'd lean VCU in this one.
A lean towards VCU. I'm going heads up with Bobano here, and I can't wait for this game. I'm very, very, very excited about the game. Bobano, can you touch on the total quick before we move on to the next spot on the board? Do a very low total. Now we cashed the Houston, Northern Kentucky low total comfortably, even though it was only comfortable for the last 5 or 6 minutes. What do you think of this total, Bobano, opening up at 123.5, now at 123?
So it's going to be probably a battle, a lower scoring battle. And definitely would lean under in this game. And VCU's defense doesn't get the credit it deserves. I mean, they play press, which you would think speeds things up, but a lot of VCU games go under, and we see a lot of 122s. So or games fall in the 120s. This is a very low total. I just don't like betting unders this low, but this is one where I could see it being low score. I certainly would lean under. I just don't like it when it's this low.
Yeah, I feel like it's the spot. I don't hear anybody. Is anybody moving on the total? Can I hear from you guys if you're moving on the total in this spot? Let's move on to the next game on the board, 2:45 p.m. Eastern. This is my second bet. I've only made 3 bets on this card so far. This is number 2. Number 15 seed Vermont Catamounts, 23-10 versus number 2 seed Marquette Golden Eagles, 28-6, Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio. Take a look at the line history here for this one. We have at Pinnacle, Vermont opening up at plus 11. They're now at plus 10. They were at plus 9.5 yesterday for most of the day until an hour ago. I got the 10.5. Let's see if Bet365 has changed it. Bet365 had the 10.5 up, and they still do. But wow, they moved it to 11 at 8:20 this morning, and it lasted there for an hour and 14 minutes. It's back at 10.5. Interesting. Let's take a look at the total for this one. This one opened up at 145. It's down to 142.5. Take a look at the cash flow here. Cash flow for this one. We have 57% of the tickets and 85% of the cash on Vermont. That number was 62% and 82%. So we've had less tickets come in on Vermont, but more money come in on them, which is something that I like. But we did see the market move slightly towards Marquette there for a bit. Total-wise, 67% of tickets and 77% of the cash on the under. Let's take a look at this and set the table here. DabyCab going to get us rolling. Vermont comes in off a very strong American East tournament and an excellent season. They defeated NJIT in the quarters, 84-57, then beat Binghamton in the semis, 79-57, before beating UMass Lowell in the final, 72-59, as 6-point favorites. They play very clean basketball. They turn the ball over 17 times combined over those 3 conference tournament victories. They opened the season with a very tough out-of-conference schedule. They lost at St. Mary's, at Cal State Fullerton. They lost at USC. They came home and lost to Iona badly. They traveled to Yale and got crushed. They learned lessons from those losses, and they became very strong, finishing the season on a 15-game winning streak. Rick J. gave us this stat yesterday. Dogs of 6.5 or more and won their 3 conference tourney games by 10-plus points are 16-2 against the spread since 2012, an 89% success rate. Then we saw Colgate lose or not cover. So now that stat is 16-3. Marquette's a very good team. They went 17-3 in the Big East. They finished on a 9-game winning streak, culminating defeating Xavier very easily, 65-51 in the Big East Finals, 2-point favorites. Look, this is not a fade against Marquette. This is that I think Vermont can hang. Take it away for us, DabyCab, Vermont, Marquette.
This is a tough one. I don't like, going against Shaka Smart. I know we've heard Pete say that and a lot of other good cappers. You don't like going against him in tournament time because he's got his team playing, at top level right now. The Golden Eagles have won 9 straight games. They're doing well on offense, scoring more than 79% per game. And they're doing that on 49% of their shots, which is just outstanding. From the free throw line, they've hit 80% in their last 3 games, which you got to love that. And you look on the other side, I know Vermont's won 15 games, and you kind of touched on this, but in non-conference play, they were terrible. They lost 8 of their 10 non-conference games, and offensively on the road, they've struggled, putting up less than 70 points per game. And they've also, when I talk about free throws too, at the charity stripe, they've made less than 70% of their free throws. Their ball movement leaves a little bit to be desired here. And I just think this Golden Eagles team is playing at top level right here. So I think Marquette probably covers the spread. But again, I haven't bet this one. So I've got 5 bets today, and that's plenty for me.
Bobano, perfect timing. So
yeah, I'm placing a shit ton of bets. That's what I'm doing when I shut the camera off. So yeah, it's just nobody needs to see me staring at the screen like that intensely. No,
he's like 5. That's nothing, Cab.
Yeah. Take it away here for us, Bobano. Vermont Catamounts, Marquette Golden Eagles.
Yeah, I'm on Vermont here. I am. I'm on Vermont here, plus the points in this game. When I look at it, Marquette's in that angle too, where they're off the conference tournament championship. Sometimes that first game, it's not easy to play well. This is a very, very efficient, disciplined Vermont team. And the thing is, Marquette can get you off your game. Vermont's tough to shake. Vermont is tough to get off their game because they're disciplined, they're regimented, they value the basketball, they take good shots, they work the ball. They're obviously very methodical, like they play slow, but they're very efficient with what they do offensively. Dylan Penn, watch out for him. Matt Veretto, Vin Sullivan. This is a very, very efficient team. Make their threes. They just came off a game where they can also shoot. They're very good inside as well, you find. I think this is actually a Vermont team that, they're often been a good perimeter team. I think they're a very good two-point shooting team this year as well. Marquette, a very good team. And I think they'll probably win this game still. Like, I'm not calling the upset, but I think they're going to have to grind through this first game here against this Vermont Catamounts team. Vermont that's very used to being here in the NCAA tournament. And the one thing, too, is Shaka Smart has a really bad recent track record in his first NCAA tournament game. Really bad. It's like, remember the year with VCU, it was almost a decade ago now, where he took that team to the Final Four. But, since that season, I think he's something like 1-6 in the first NCAA tournament game, the last 7. So he's had a tough time in this first game, and he's going to have to win this game by margin, not just win this game as well. So I like Vermont here, getting the number plus 10.5, minus 110 at Bet365.
I am right there with you. I'm still staring at that under in VCU St. Mary's, staring at it very closely. Also, the under in sorry. I've got St. Mary's. I'm staring at the Santa Barbara Baylor under, and I know that Cole moved on it. Haven't moved on it. Those are my two early spots that I bet already. St. Mary's -4 up against Bobano, and Vermont plus 10.5. All right, let's move on. 3:10 p.m. Midwest Region first round. Already heard from Ski Profit. He's backing these Pittsburgh Panthers on the 11 seed, 23-11 versus number 6 seed Iowa State Cyclones, 19-13 on the year. We're in Greensboro for this one. I have them in the bracket contest, but it's a little different betting them, and I have not done that yet. Let's take a look at this line history here. We have Iowa State opening up at -4, -106. There's been an 8-cent move towards them. -4, -114. There are all 4.5s on the board. So Iowa State is Pinnacle is the only book that hasn't moved to 4.5 here of the offshores that I've got listed. Take a look at the total here. This total opened up at 130.5. It's now at 131.5. We take a look at the cash flow here. We have 70% of the tickets on Pittsburgh, but just 60% of the cash. So some of the bigger bets are coming in Iowa State. Markets moved about a half point in their direction, but some books did open this up at 4.5 and had moved it to 4 and have come back. Total wise, 47% of the tickets and 76% of the cash is on the under. After an impressive 14-6 in-conference run in the ACC, Pittsburgh defeated Georgia Tech 89-81 in the ACC tournament second round before getting pummeled by Duke 96-69 in the quarters as 5-point dogs. They got off the mat to defeat Mississippi State 60-59. The 11-seed playing game is 2.5-point dogs, but man, that ball was bouncing around the cylinder there in the last couple seconds and came pretty fortunate to be here in the Midwest region first round. Iowa State opened their Big 12 conference tournament by beating Baylor for the second consecutive time, 78-72 in the Big 12 quarters as 5-point dogs. Then they lost 71-58 to Kansas in the Big 12 semis as 4.5-point dogs. King Al, Mike M and Razor Sharp picks are on USC. Bobano is a small bet on Michigan State. Dan Kelly's on Michigan State. I almost moved on Michigan State, but decided not to. Take it away here for us, Bobano, Pittsburgh, Iowa State.
I'm on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's been my team this year. I love this group. Love them. They've been phenomenal. What a coaching job by Capel. Very good offensive team. And I think their defense, is very capable here because what I know with Pitt, you play a Duke, you play Miami in the ACC play, you play some of these really good offensive teams, they can get ripped apart and they can struggle. Like Duke just shredded them in the ACC tournament. Miami has been a team that struggled with, and they're bad defensively against good offenses, but against the weaker offenses, Pitt's fine. Look what they did against Mississippi State a couple nights ago. Mississippi State can't shoot straight. I'm not convinced Iowa State can shoot straight. They're not a good offensive team, Iowa State. This is a doable matchup here for the Pitt Panthers. And I like the idea of them playing in Dayton, getting a win under their belt. Momentum. whereas, Iowa State's just sitting there waiting for them. I actually think it's an advantage. And that's the reason why some of these first four teams that have won in the first four have won in the first round as well and gone on to the weekend, because they've got a little rhythm. They've got a little momentum. They've got some confidence. And I think Pitt's very live to win this game, let alone getting the points that we're getting here with them. I just am not impressed with Iowa State offensively. They can go in massive droughts shooting the basketball, and that's a concern when you're a favorite of 4.5, 5 on a neutral. So I like Pitt here, +5, -110 at Bet Rivers.
Bobano getting Pitt +5, -110. Ski's already given us Pitt. Let's hear what DabyCab has to say. Pitt Panthers, Iowa State Cyclones
this year as well. Pitt, excellent underdog ATS.
Man, doesn't come as much surprise that I loved Ian's cap for this game, because Ian's been one of my favorite college football and college basketball cappers for a few years now. But I agree with everything he just said. Iowa State, I don't know what it is. I feel like everybody got super high on Iowa State because they beat Baylor twice in those back-to-back games, which were great wins. I'm not trying to take anything away from it, but you look before that, they lost to Oklahoma, who was a bad Oklahoma team this year, 50-61. They lost to West Virginia, 69-72. They got stomped by Kansas, 58-71. And you look across the offensive board here, points per game, Pittsburgh's got them beat. They're 81st in the country, putting up 75.6, where Iowa State's only putting up 68.4. And I'm not going to read all the numbers, but field goal percentage, Pitt takes that. Free throw percentage, Pitt takes that by almost 10%. Three-point percentage, Pitt takes that. So let's look at the boards, right? Because this is where we expect Iowa State's going to win this game and stay in it if you like Iowa State. No, I mean, Pitt is pulling down 33 rebounds per game, where Iowa State's only pulling down 30.7. Just pretty much across the board. Pitt creates more turnovers. Pitt, in my opinion, is the better basketball team. So yeah, I agree with it completely. I just haven't bet it. And I think Arizona State and Pitt are two of the teams that are going to make runs in this tournament.
Max Swelly says Iowa State not at home, can't back them. Razor Sharp Pick says Pitt is a public dog. You know what to do. Paco Healy says Pitt definitely a banger. Johnny Guns agreeing with Razor. If I was solely betting this on market analysis, yeah, I would agree that Iowa State would be the look. But I got Pitt in my bracket and just this round. And then you hear Ski and Bobano on Pitt. You have DabyCab leaning towards Pitt. Johnny Guns liking this over. Bobano, can you touch on this total? Opened up at 130.5, now at 131.5.
The public dog thing is a bit of a hit or miss in the tournament so far. Like Oral Roberts definitely was a public dog, and we saw what happened. But Furman was a public dog too, and we saw what happened there. They won outright against Virginia. So it's case by case. It's not, public dog, blindly fade the public dog. No, it's case by case. Definitely worth noting that.
Definitely. Can you touch on this over 130.5 to 131.5? I
mean, probably an under if I had to. I just don't trust Iowa State's offense. We saw what Pitt does against a team that, I feel this is going to be like Pitt, Mississippi State, where it's going to be a bit of a grind. Pitt can light it up, but I don't know if they're going to do that against Iowa State because you've got a situation where Iowa State is still pretty good defensively, or can be good defensively, and Pitt did struggle to obtain a margin of any kind against Mississippi. Like their offense wasn't fluid against Mississippi State, but their defense shut down a weak offense, Pitt. So I think we could see a similar game script. I do think it's a close game. Like either way, if Iowa State wins, it's close. If Pitt wins, it's going to be close. And I think it's going to be more defense than offense. So lean under.
A lean to the under. All right, let's get back to the Magic Man. Cadabra here, 4 p.m. Eastern, South Region first round. It's perfect. Now, I'm not bringing this to you because of what you've got in your bracket and your investment here on this Wolfpack squad. This just happened to be. We're just going back and forth, but this is perfect. South Region first round, the 11 seed NC State Wolfpack, 23-10 versus number 6 seed Creighton Blue Jays, 21-12. We're at Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. We have over here. Sorry, quickly. Here we go. We have a Creighton opening up at -5, -108. They're now -5 at -106. This never left 5 at Pinnacle. Totals wise, this opened up at 148. It got up to 149. It's now at 148.5. So no movement on the side, slight movement to the over. Let's take a look at cash flow here. 67% of the tickets and 79% of the cash on Creighton, but market's not moving towards them. 56% of the tickets and 62% of the cash on the under, and the market's not moving towards the under. So here we go. After beating Virginia Tech 97-77 in the second round of the ACC tournament as 2-point favorites, the Wolfpack got beaten badly, 80-54 in the quarters as 2-point dogs. It was their third loss in 4 games. After a strong 14-6 record in Big East Conference play, Creighton opened up their conference tournament with an impressive 87-74 victory over Villanova as 4.5-point favorites. We saw Villanova look much stronger at the end of the year. Before they also lost badly, 82-60 to Xavier in the semis as 3.5-point favorites. DabyCab, NC State, Wolfpack, Creighton Blue Jays.
So this is one of those ones, man. This is one of those ones. And Jimmy called it out. I got NC State winning this game, and I got them beating Baylor in the second round. And that's as far as they go for me. But that's what I got here. This is one of those ones off of what I see. This NC State team is lanky as a motherfucker. And Creighton has shown that when you can out-rebound Creighton, they struggle. That's what you saw happen with Xavier in the final game of the tournament. And, you know, this offense for NC State is very good. They're 36 in adjusted offensive efficiency. They're averaging 78.2 points per game. That's the 35th most in the nation. You know, and on defense, they're well-rounded on both sides. Defense, NC State is 87th in adjusted efficiency. And they get a lot of steals. They're 55th in the nation steals, pulling away 7.9 per game. And they're good down low. They're blocking 4.6 shots per game, which is 32nd in the nation. Like I said, just all around this NC State team is very well rounded. They're lanky as a motherfucker, and I think they're just going to cause Creighton problems down low and all over this entire game. And I know this is a huge upset to be predicting, but I got NC State winning this game. I'm not betting it, but they win in my bracket.
Okay, so not going to the window, but part of your bracket contest. Bobano, NC State Wolfpack, Creighton Blue Jays, Ball Arena, Denver, Colorado.
This one I like the over. I do. I think I like the matchup. You know, I like the fact that Creighton defensively did not play great down the stretch, and I love that we've got great guard play, and on both sides. You know, and I think when the guards are as strong as the guards that both of these two teams have, you're going to see good decision-making with the basketball. You're going to see the open shot, you know, look for the good shot. You're going to see that here from both of these teams. Ryan Nembhard's terrific, you know, leading this great backcourt that Creighton has, no question. And I think he can do some damage and help this team do offensive damage against NC State. But meanwhile, on the NC State side of the equation, you've got a great backcourt of their own led by Jarkel Joyner, who's phenomenal. And he's played really, really well down the stretch. So you got great guard play, great backcourts both sides. NC State's going to try to get out and run. It's always the way they play under Kevin Keats. It's always that push the basketball, press style against Creighton. And I think Creighton, though, is going to, I talk about some teams that may be shaken by the press. I don't think Creighton will. They'll probably get some easy baskets. They'll be able to break it. But I think at the same time, NC State against a Creighton team that didn't exactly play their best at the defensive end down the stretch can make their shots as well. It should be an entertaining game. This is actually a fun game to watch. I have no opinion on the side. I actually think whoever wins this game could be dangerous in the next round. I do agree with. So obviously Cab thinks that's NC State, which is definitely possible. I think the same thing, though, about Creighton. Creighton wins this game. I think they're very dangerous on the weekend in that next game. So I'm not on the side. I do like the over, and I think we'll see points.
Shogun Soup says NC State matches them with size. That was something that DabyCab alluded to. Says, I think they will lock up Nembhard, which will F up Creighton's entire flow. Arnold Estrada, though, says NC State is garbage. Elliot liking Creighton.
I think there's more upside for Creighton. Like Creighton plays their A game today, they will win and cover. But NC State did play well down the stretch. We haven't always seen that out of Creighton. So, but Creighton is a Final Four caliber team, honestly, if they play the way they're capable of and the way they played early in the season. But again, you haven't always gotten it from them. So, by the way, over 147.5 minus 118 at ProLine Plus. That's the one we'll lock in.
All right, 147.5 at minus 118. There's Mark Nick in the house. Great to see you. Let's roll on. 4:30 p.m. Eastern, West Region first round. Iona Gaels, 27-7 this year versus the number 4 seed UConn Huskies. We'll start with the line movement. UConn opening up at -8.5, -106. They're now -9.5 at -106. The line is only moved in UConn's direction. There was a time where, on Tuesday, this was -9 at -117. Then it went down to -9 at -104. So for that little period, there was some buyback on Iona, but it's at 9.5 right now. From a total perspective, this opened up at 143. It's now at 141.5. Wine Time Sports says I'm big on Iona plus 9.5 here, and he sprinkled the money line. There's Rick J in the house and says he's with me on St. Mary's. I love that, Rick. And this is the final spot from that the stat, that angle that Rick J gave us yesterday. So again, that angle, we used it in the Vermont spot, and this is the last time we're going to get to mention it. The angle is here. It's dogs of 6.5 or more that won their 3 conference tourney games by 10 plus points are 16-2 against the spread since 2012 and 89% success rate. 3 teams fit that mold: Colgate, which did not cover, so it's 16-3, Vermont, and Iona. So let's set this table quickly for Bobano after an impressive 17-3 run in the Metro Atlantic Conference play. Iona won all 3 of their conference tournament games by double digits, culminating in beating Marist 76-55 in the finals, 14.5-point favorites. After a strong 13-7 campaign in the Big East, and it was a wild one. I mean, they opened up with a 13-game winning streak, not in conference, of course, a 13-game out of conference, and they went in conference and they lost 4 straight. There was a couple dips, but we know the talent in this UConn team. They defeated Providence in the Big East quarter, 73-66 as 6-point favorites. And then they lost 70-68 to eventual champion Marquette in the semis. And they were 4.5-point favorites in that game. Take it away for us here, Bobano, 4:30 p.m. Eastern West Region, first round, Iona, UConn.
I like Iona in the first half here. We have a pattern of Iona the last 2 times they've been in the NCAA tournament. I believe the game against North Carolina, it was 2019. I think it was still Tim Cluse was the coach back then, but they were up 5 at halftime against North Carolina. And the one time they were in the NCAA tournament since Rick Pitino's been there, they were also right in that game at halftime against Alabama. It was a couple years ago. It was 33-32 for Alabama at halftime against Iona. So Iona's had great starts in these tournament games, and Rick Pitino's a great prep guy. Okay, he's a very good, coach in terms of preparing a team for a tournament game. It's always been one of his strengths. I think in the first half, Iona's got the pieces to hang around. I do worry that UConn's size gives them issues as the game goes on. I worry that as the game goes on, they get worn down, because that's definitely the one thing we saw in that Alabama game, is that Alabama got stronger in the game. And they ended up winning by double digits a couple of years ago in the NCAA tournament. But I think early in the game, Iona and the prep from Pitino can keep them in it early. That's the angle I'm going to go with here. Maybe they do hang around. This is the angle I also cashed with. So if you follow me on first half bets, I'm 1-0 because I had Princeton yesterday in the first half against. Now, I didn't think they'd hang around for the 40 minutes. That part I got wrong, but I did think they'd hang for 20. They did. Who the hell knew they'd win outright, but they did. I give them credit for that. Maybe Iona can hang around and win outright too and steal one against UConn, but this is me more looking at the first half here with the Iona Gaels. I think this is a spot where, with Pitino's track record, getting a team ready for that tournament game, I think that, and UConn just being kind of erratic since the start of January, really since the start of the calendar year, they've had these great runs and winning streaks, and they've had these tough losing streaks as well. But I don't trust Iona fully for 40 minutes, but I do think they can get off to a good start and be competitive at halftime. So we'll roll with at plus 5.5, -112 at Bet Rivers, Iona in the first half.
Iona first half plus 5.5 at -112. DabyCab. This is the last game that we have DabyCab for. The games post 5 o'clock. You can see his breakdowns alongside Connor Mack on our Big Net Profits show. So this is our last opportunity to bathe in DabyCab's glory Take it away, DabyCab. Iona, UConn.
Man, two good teams here. Iona's putting up 76.6 points per game, 64th in the nation. Their defense has been outstanding also, giving up 65.9. That's 64th in the nation also. So they're very well-rounded here. I think what Bobano said is going to ring true. I think that the size will wear Iona down. I haven't bet this game. I have not yet, but I really do think the size is going to wear them down. But I'll back Ian a little bit with some of this. UConn, after starting 14-0 on the season, they finished at 10-9 against the spread. But here's my thing with UConn: they won 6 straight before losing to Marquette. Lost that game by 2 points to Marquette, and I think Marquette played as good of a basketball game as anybody could play. I still think this UConn team is a team that could easily make it to the Final Four and make a run. I'm very high on them. I'm just not high on them in a double-digit spot here. So that's where it comes down to for me.
I had UConn in my Final Four and then panicked. I panicked right before I sent in. I switched to Kansas, and I don't know if I'll rue the consequences of that. But I had, and then it upset me when I looked at Dennis Garcia's bracket. He's got UConn. I was like, I probably should have stuck with it. But
I cannot wait for the Kansas-Arkansas game. I'm so fucking excited for that game.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Dan Kelly says this is where
Iona. Scary game for Kansas, in my opinion.
It is. That's what I keep thinking too.
Very. Dan Kelly said this is where Iona hopes their $20 million investment in Pitino pays off. I'd actually be very comfortable. And Rod Zawacki crushed with Raptors yesterday. I love that, Rod. I'd be very comfortable if Arkansas took out Kansas. I mean, it would screw my contest up, but it would help me and 2 others very much. That would probably take me right to the bank. And Sky Dragon says my bracket of record has UConn winning the title. God, I think I did see that now, but barely slept last night. So pumped up. DC Capper leaning towards UConn. I would like to get in on Iona. And maybe that first half is just the best way to do it. I've been interested in Iona here, even though I think UConn's a juggernaut. I've been very interested in moving here. Bobano has moved on Iona first half plus 5.5. DabyCab, is there anything you want to make official here for record keeping purposes before you bounce?
Like for the later games?
Yeah.
Miami, first half and full game. That line has moved, and I don't know if you saw what I was saying earlier when I first got in here, but we got big news for Miami. Their center's going to be playing, so that's huge. But Miami first half full game. I don't know if you already have those, but then I also got Memphis first half. It dropped all the way down to minus 116 for the money line. So I hit it again at minus 116 on the money line. Memphis first half. And then I gave you the USC look. I'll go ahead and throw out Kentucky first half minus 1.5.
Kentucky first half. And you tweeted all these spots out, right?
Yeah, everything's been tweeted out.
Okay, so what was the Miami first half and full game numbers you got?
Minus 18 on the money line first half. Full game is minus 1.5, minus 108. I hit all these spots twice, actually.
Sorry, I was you cut out for a second. Miami first half money line minus 118.
And then full game minus 1.5, minus 108.
Minus 1.5, minus 108. And then Memphis first half money line was minus 118.
Yes, sir. Or minus 116.
All right. Okay, Cap, thank you for sharing your additions. If you want to hear DabyCab's breakdowns for every game past 5 o'clock, join him for our big show Net Profits alongside Connor Mack. Follow DabyCab on Twitter at DabyCab. He will be co-host with Razor Sharp Picks for a huge show tonight, March Madness Mayhem, and then he'll be hopefully with me on Sunday night live. If you could make some time to join me for our live betting college, I would love that. And of course, he will be hosting Saturday and Sunday morning alongside Bobano and Connor Mack in our big NCAA Pub Hub.
Yep.
Keep up the great work, DabyCab, coming off 4-1 day yesterday, now in the black overall here on the show. Keep rolling. Much love to you, my friend. Any last words for the Capper supporting the show?
Oh man, love you guys. And you got more games to cap. So usually I give you a nice little exit. I'm gonna get out, get in the chat, turn the USC game on, and listen in to what you two guys got to say. So let's get this fucking paper.
Love it.
See you tomorrow, Cap.
DabyCab. All right, you have Bobano and I breaking down the rest of the night card. This is the only spot you're going to see Bobano's NCAA breakdowns for these games. Let's roll. 6:50 p.m. Eastern, East Region first round. Number 16, Fairleigh Dickinson. And there it is. Now we got the graphics from our Jose Bouquet. Great job back there. Thank you, Jose. 16, Fairleigh Dickinson Knights, 20-15 versus number 1 seed Purdue Boilermakers, 29-5. We're in Nationwide Arena here for this one. Let's take a look at the line history here. I've come close a couple times to backing Fairleigh Dickinson. I've not done it. They open up at plus 23 at minus 106. They're now plus 23 at minus 104. Pinnacle's never swayed off of this number. Totals wise, opened up at 145.5. It's gone up a point to 146.5. Then cash wise here, 59% of the tickets, and I don't know if I even said this for UConn, but 59% of the tickets, 53% of the cash is on Fairleigh Dickinson. That's come down. Total wise, 58% of tickets, 70% of cash is on the under. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Quick setup. After losing in the NEC final to an ineligible for the tourney Merrimack squad 67-66, Fairleigh Dickinson dominated Texas Southern 84-61 as 2.5-point dogs in the 16-seed play-in game. Purdue closed out their season with a 5-game winning streak. They had lost 4 or 5 before that 5-game winning streak, but it culminated in winning the Big Ten final 67-65 over Penn State as 7.5-point favorites. Take it away for us here, Bobano. East Region first round. Fairleigh Dickinson Knights, Purdue Boilermakers.
Yeah, we saw what happened with Alabama against the number 1 seed against a team that won the play-in or the first 4. Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, they had their way. I think Purdue should have their way, but I think Purdue's the weakest 1 seed. I'm not looking to lay 23 with Purdue. That being said, I mean, they've got such a huge height, length, athleticism advantage over this Fairleigh Dickinson team that beat a Texas Southern team that, to be quite honest, I don't even think that was as good a Texas Southern team as we've seen in recent years. This might be a game where Purdue flexes their muscles. They can get out and score easy baskets. Fairleigh Dickinson will play fast. I do have a small look at the over, and the total has gone up a little bit, but it's nothing I'm going to make official. It's just a tiny wager on the over. That's about it for me here.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not going to move on Fairleigh Dickinson. Ski Prophet saying Fairleigh Dickinson talking too much. Feel like Purdue first half is to play. Message sent early, but just a lean at this point. Rocco Rogers on Purdue first half team total over 40.5. Jean Perez saying FDU is going to get FDU'd today. So let's move on to the next spot on the board. A game that's very near and dear to our Nasty Nate's heart. East Region first round. This one pops off at 7:10 p.m. Eastern. The number 11 seed Providence Friars 21-11 versus the number 6 seed Kentucky Wildcats, also 21-11. We're going to go back to Greensboro for this one. Let's take a look at the line history here for this spot. We have Providence opening up as 3-point dogs. They're now 4.5-point dogs. This last move, a half point towards Kentucky, happened at 8:45 this morning. So we have a 1.5 move towards Kentucky. Totals wise, it's opened up at 145. It's dropped 2 points to 143. We get to the cash flow. 54% of the tickets and 63% of the cash is on Kentucky. 70% of the tickets and 78% of the cash is on the under. Providence comes in off their third straight loss, 73-66 to UConn in the Big East quarters, as 6-point dogs. Kentucky comes in off their second loss in 3 games, 80-73 to Vanderbilt in the SEC quarters as 8.5-point favorites. It was pretty ugly. Dan Kelly says Michigan State, easy winner in the race to 10. A lot of this is correlating towards me wanting to move on Kentucky, but I'd love to hear your breakdown, Bobano, and I'd love to hear from those of you in the chat. Take it away. Bobano, Providence, Kentucky.
Yeah, this is wow. Man, I thought for sure you're going to give me plus 4.5 with Providence of all teams and Ed Cooley and this team that's been such a good underdog over the years. I'd be jumping at it against this. I think this horrible Kentucky team, which not horrible, but there's nothing that overly impresses me about this team. And there is a boatload of pressure on them to win a game in this tournament because I think that's really going to make the locals there in Lexington very unhappy. But this team is just so they're not a good offensive team. They don't take good shots. That's a concern for me with them laying points. But Providence was just, I don't know what it was. Have they hit the wall? Have they quit on this? It almost looks like they've quit on the season a little bit, Providence. So it's Providence or pass for me. But man, the way Providence finished the season does bother me. They lose to Xavier. They get blown out by Seton Hall. Don't be fooled by the UConn score. I know it was a 7-point loss in the Big East tournament. They were down pretty handily most of that game, and they came through late in the second half. So I don't know. I mean, I thought for sure Kentucky is still high on my fade list coming into this tournament. I don't want any part of them laying points. I'd prefer Providence, but I'm just not liking the body language. I'm not liking the decline of their play. I'm not liking the decline of their defense here the last few games. That's for sure. And so, Providence lean, but nothing I'm confident enough to make official.
That you're right. In that game, the Providence UConn game, I was very confident in UConn, and I had first half UConn, full game UConn, and the Providence team total under 68.5. I ended up pushing the full game because I got 7. I got in late, cashed that first half easily, and then I cashed the team total under. But there was a 3-point shot with 2.5 seconds left. If that scores, I go 1-2 in that game instead of 2-0-1. So it was pretty nerve-wracking here. I would like to back Kentucky. They got slapped in the face by Vandy. I think that they can come out ready to go, and I think the market is sort of leaning to pushing there. And the fact that you are not, and all I've heard is a ton of Providence looks, and the fact that you're not going to move on Providence, even though that was something you sort of expected to do, also makes me want to add Kentucky. There's Clint, our leader in our bracket contest. Leading college basketball bracket expert, checking in, Clint McLean. I think I'm going to move on Kentucky. I really want the 4 and not the 4.5. And it's 4.5 right now where I shop. Interesting. Okay, I guess I'm going to lean towards Kentucky. But Nate, I am nervous here. But I do feel like things are pointing in that direction. And Providence looked really bad there to end the season. Let's move on to 7:25 p.m. Eastern Midwest region first round. The number 12 seed Drake Bulldogs, a very sexy pick from a lot of experts here. 27-7 versus the number 5 seed Miami Hurricanes, also 25-7 this year. We're at MVP Arena in Albany, New York, and Sky Dragon says Kentucky can win the whole damn thing. I mean, this is as wide open as any March Madness I've ever remember. I mean, I can remember it wide open. This is a fascinating game here, and I can't wait to discuss it. We've already heard DabyCab on Miami. He's been bullish on Miami this year. Miami opened up at -3 at Pinnacle. Then they got down to -1. They were -1 yesterday at 10:30 this morning. Now, injury news has come out, and Miami's getting a big back. I'm sure that Bobano will discuss. This got up to -3 at 11:09 a.m. and then back to 2.5. So seems like people were buying again in on Drake, especially with the way Drake finished off the season. This total opened up at 147. It's now at 145.5. Let's go over to the cash flow here. 59% of the tickets and 74% of the cash is on Drake. Being big bets coming in on Drake, throughout the week. 64% of the tickets and 85% of cash on the under. 64 and 85, and we've seen it drop 1.5 points here. And now there's going to be some more presence in the paint with the injury news from Miami. Drake finished off a 15-5 Missouri Valley Conference campaign by winning 3 straight conference tournament games by double digits. The 15-5 record really doesn't do them justice because they came on. They're very hot right now. They beat Murray State 74-62. Now is a down year for Murray State. They beat Southern Illinois 65-52. Then they won 77-51 over Bradley in the finals, 1.5 point favorite. That was really impressive. Miami closed out a strong 15-5 regular season that earned them the number 1 seed in the ACC tournament in underwhelming fashion. They lost at home to Florida State. They barely got by Pittsburgh at home on seniors night to earn the number 1 seed, 78-76. They barely got past Wake Forest in the ACC quarters by 2 points as 7.5 point favorites. Before I was all over Duke on that game last Friday, before losing to Duke 85-78. Now they were 3-point dogs in that spot. Johnny K says, kind of like Drake. D. Jenkins says, feels like Miami squeaks by here. Johnny K on Miami first half under. Jake Burns on Miami money line. Rogue Energy has the fire sign beside Drake. Let's hear what Bobano has to say about this spot. Drake, Miami.
Well, I was liking Miami already, and I like them. Obviously, it helps to have the center, Omir, back in the lineup tonight for them, and especially because Drake does have some size in the paint. I'm going to go Miami money line minus 135 at Unibet, official play. Jimmy Larinaga seems to win a game or two in this conference. They got the guard play. They've got, obviously, Isaiah Wong, and I think you're going to see the guard play be the difference here. Look, Drake to me, coming off the Missouri Valley, I actually thought Drake was a little bit better team last year than this year. Now, I know they won the Missouri Valley this year. They've got a real good player, Tucker DeVries. You're going to have to watch out for him here if you're Miami. But the thing is, having Omir at center is going to, I think, help them have a better defensive presence against DeVries in this game. That's going to be, I think, the difference. I like Jimmy Larinaga in tournament settings. And like I said, in past years, how many times have we seen Jim Larinaga lead Miami and George Mason, of course, before that, when he coached there, to at least a 1 or 2 tournament wins. He rarely gets bounced in the first tournament game. And I think Miami, they've been too good all year. The guard play has been too strong all year for them to bow out here in this first tournament game. And I do think they've got the backcourt advantage here over this Drake Bulldogs team. Their issue has been defensively at times. There's no question about that. But I think in this matchup here against Drake, they'll be fine. And they'll be able to get the job done. I like Miami here. I already like them without their starting center, but now that he's in, I'm definitely liking Miami here. Money line for me at minus 135.
Bobano moving on, Miami at minus 135. Kenneth Vincent also on the over in this spot. It's dropped 1.5 down from 147 to 145.5. Do you agree with that market move to the under?
I actually lean over in this game. And Miami's been a team I've bet a lot of overs with recently, but they are better defensively, obviously, with their center back on the floor. So that might keep me off. I actually did bet the over, but it's small. It's at the amount that I'm not usually making an official play for this show with. So just a small bet on the over, but I like the side better, Miami.
Okay, I'm off of that spot at this point. It's funny. I mean, yesterday there were so many spots at 14 bets, and at this point I have 3 bets made, and I'm not sure how many I'm adding. I'm going to add Kentucky. Let's move on to the next spot on the board, 7:35 p.m. Eastern, West Region first round, number 14 seed Grand Canyon Lopes, 24-11 versus number 3 seed Gonzaga Bulldogs, 28-5, Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado. I hope Dan Marley's watching this one. Let's take a look at the line history here for this. We have over here, we have Grand Canyon opening up, has 15-point dogs, now 15.5-point dogs. Totals wise, it's opened up at 156.5. It's dropped to 154. Cash wise here, Grand Canyon opening up, or Grand Canyon with 37% of the tickets, but 64% of the cash. So big bets have come in on Grand Canyon. Big bets have come in. And let me just go back to this spread once more. Opening up at minus 15, a half-point move to Gonzaga, but big bets on Grand Canyon. Total-wise, 42% of the tickets and 52% of the cash, so somewhat bigger bets on the under, and we've seen this total drop 2.5 points from the opening line. Grand Canyon got better as the season went on, just 11-7 in the WAC conference. It looked like Utah Valley was the elite spot, and then Sam Houston next. And Grand Canyon beat Sam Houston in the semi 78-75. They got past Seattle, 84-79, good Seattle team. And then Southern Utah, they destroyed in the finals, 84-66. Gonzaga against St. Mary's in the finals, really, really showed their class in the West Coast Conference finals. And there's been talk, Dennis Garcia mentioned it, a few other captains mentioned it, that maybe without the pressure of being such a highly thought of team all year, maybe they are capable of a big run here. Let's hear what Bobano has to say. Grand Canyon, Gonzaga, take it away.
sorry. I think when you look at it here with Gonzaga, maybe that does help them that they're not the number 1 seed. But I'll tell you what, I need to see it from their defense more consistently. I mean, they did play a little bit better at times later in the season, but man, this was definitely not Mark Few's best defensive team. I mean, they do definitely have still, guys that can make shots, Strother and company, and of course, Drew Timme, one of the elite big men in college basketball. They can score inside. They can score outside. They're going to press you. They're going to force turnovers. They're going to get easy baskets. Gonzaga is still excellent at that end of the floor. I don't question Gonzaga's offense. It's will they guard? Will they defend? And can they defend enough tonight to cover this kind of number? This is not a small number. They got to win decisively here against a Grand Canyon team that offensively themselves played very well down the stretch. But I think they have the potential to get absolutely crushed inside by Timme. They do not have that same size, length, athleticism in the paint. It could be easy baskets all night for Timme. And that is definitely a big problem that Grand Canyon's going to have in this game. I just like the over here rather than either side. The total's dropping. I'm a little surprised that it's come down to the point where it has. Grand Canyon is not a super fast tempo team, but they don't walk the ball up the court. They're very efficient offensively. Obviously, we know Gonzaga certainly is a faster paced basketball team. The total is down to 153.5 minus 115 at Bet Online right now. So let's grab it. I think this total is moving in the wrong direction. We're going over 153.5 minus 115. Grand Canyon, Gonzaga.
You have it. Bobano on the over 153.5 at minus 115. There are these final games. I can't wait to talk about them all. But I think, look, I have obviously a stake in the Kent State Indiana game, but this is probably the one I've wanted to talk about the most. 9:20 p.m. Eastern, East Region first round. The number 9 seed Florida Atlantic Owls, 31-3 this year. They were spectacular. Versus number 8 seed Memphis, 26-8 at Nationwide Arena. This is going to be fun. Owls, Tigers, and we know that after the Tigers took out the Cougars in the conference final, that there was a ton of belief in this Memphis squad. Then this line came out at minus 2.5, and it quickly moved to minus 1.5. This line has only moved in Florida Atlantic's direction. Total-wise, this opened up at 151. It's now up to 152. Cash-wise here, we have 31% of tickets on Florida Atlantic, but 50% of the cash. Then we have 71% of the tickets and 81% of the cash on the under. Johnny Gunn says, I think Memphis makes a deep run. I've liked this team all season. Says Florida Atlantic could be a public Cinderella dog. Well, this Florida Atlantic team showed out against a very tough UAB team in the finals of the Conference USA tournament. 78-56, they stomped on them. They barely got past Middle Tennessee. They beat Western Kentucky very easily. 18-2 in the conference. Memphis got Rebenga against Houston, a Houston team that didn't have Sasser. I don't know why Sasser played last night. I couldn't believe it. It's like, why is he on the floor?
And then he aggravates the thing. He aggravates the injury. And now his status is even more in doubt for Saturday. It's ridiculous. Totally absurd.
You can't play. But I would have sat him 10 times out of 10 for Saturday. Yep. Crazy. But we'll get into that. Memphis closed very strong. They lost 67-65 at home to Houston in that last regular season game. Then they beat UCF 81-76. They destroyed Tulane, and then they beat Houston to capture the Conference USA tournament. And our very own Bobano has Florida Atlantic not only to beat Memphis, but to win the region. Did you make a futures bet on that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. To win the region. Yep. Plus 6,000. Yep.
Ooh-wee. Take it away, Bobano. I can't wait to hear this breakdown. Florida Atlantic. But I've been waiting for this for 24 hours, so I take it away.
Yeah, I like Florida Atlantic. Penny Hardaway, I mean, he's got to show me in the tournament. I mean, I don't like his X's and O's. I don't like him as a game day coach. He can recruit. He's got athletes. And this Memphis team, in a big spot, in a close game, I want to see them have the mental acuity to make good decisions with the basketball, not turn it over, take good shots, play good defense, make free throws, which is still an issue for this team, by the way, making free throws. Look, when they put it all together, they can be a very good team, Memphis. We saw that against Houston last week. But Houston had no Sasser. I don't think Houston gave one shit about that game last Sunday. I really don't. I really don't. I think that was more of a Memphis. We want that game. We want that AAC championship win. And I think definitely we saw signs of that last week in that game against Houston. I like Florida Atlantic. I like the way they can play inside, outside. They put pressure on you. Dusty May's a hell of a coach. I'll give him an edge over Penny in the X's and O's department here in this game. And to me, I think Memphis has played a lot of dumb basketball in the Penny Hardaway era. They've got to show me that they're ready to shake that label before I'm certainly ready to lay points with them against a high-quality Florida Atlantic team that I think. And I'll say this, though, about Memphis. They win today, they can go on a run. And if they prove me wrong, they finally, put it together, execute well late in crunch time in a close game. They are going to be a team that's going to be a handful in the next round. No doubt about that, Memphis. But obviously I feel the same way about Florida Atlantic. So this was just a matchup where, if it was anyone but Florida Atlantic, Memphis, I think, I'd feel a little bit better about their chance. This is a damn good Owls team. I like them getting the points. I think they do things I think you do have to give from an athleticism standpoint, a little bit of an advantage certainly to Memphis, but I think in terms of just all the other intangibles, Florida Atlantic does a lot right. They're getting points. They're very well coached. They've had an incredible season. They've played tough games throughout their schedule, and I think it's going to show here in this game today. So I think Florida Atlantic wins outright, but taking the 2 is just a bonus.
I also have Florida Atlantic in my bracket, but I have not bet it.
By the way, +2 -110 at PointsBet for Florida Atlantic. And I'm also going to take the over here as well in this game. I do think we'll see points over 151.5 -115 at FanDuel.
Over 151.5 -115. What was the spread that you got?
+2 -110.
+2 -110. This is so much fun.
It's a great game. I know it is. It's a phenomenal game. If you're a college basketball fan, you're going to like this game.
And the fact that you've taken Florida Atlantic in the Final Four is so much fun. And now that we know you have a +6,000 ticket. And
VCU. I've got close to the same price with them. VCU as well to win their region. Yep.
Absolutely wild. And then we have heard from Razor Sharp Picks. He is on FAU. If I was focusing solely on the market, I too would be on it. Now, I know you and Razor have X's and O's that are complementing the market move. Shout out to our Razor Sharp Picks. FAU +2. Wow. And we have
beauty of handicapping, especially with our group. I mean, Razor Sharp and I have completely different philosophies. He's a market line movement, based capper. And I'm X's and O's, matchups, watching the games and all this other stuff. And yet we're both on Florida Atlantic. There you go.
Archie 20 is on Memphis. Noli Knows is on Memphis. Has Memphis to win the East. Wow. I would love to bet FAU, but I don't know if I can. Maybe, it's a 9:20 p.m. start. Maybe I can wait a little bit and see how it rolls. But absolutely fascinating game here. East Region first round. Bobano on FAU +2 and has them to reach the Final Four. Let's move on. 9:40 p.m. Eastern. East Region first round. Number 14 seed Montana State 25-9 versus number 3 seed Kansas State. We're at Greensboro Coliseum in North Carolina. Let's move on to the line history here for this one. We have Kansas State opening up as 8.5-point favorites. It got down to 7.5. It was at 7.5 from yesterday at 1:57 p.m. until this morning. It took till this morning at 11:23 a.m. for this to move to 8. Totals wise, it's opened up at 139. It's now at 139.5. Let's take a look at the cash flow. The cash flow here, 55% of the tickets and 80% of the cash on Montana State, but there is some legit buyback here on K-State, even though the big bets are clearly on Montana State. And we have 38% of the tickets and 47% of the cash on the over. So we have some bigger bets here on the over, and it's gone up a half point. It got up to 140. That's interesting. Interesting that the public is more on the under in this spot. You know, I wanted Eastern Washington to be in this game. They failed. And Montana State was great. Just a game back in the Big Sky regular season. They just got back past Weber by the tiniest of margins in double overtime. They, even in that game against Northern Colorado, they got by them by 9. Northern Arizona really stepped up at the end of the year. They got past them by 7. Kansas State lost to TCU, a tough TCU squad, a very talented TCU squad, 80-67 in the conference tournament. But they look great in the Big 12 all year, going 11-7 in a very, very tough conference. They finished now with 2 straight losses. Does that have them primed and ready to go here? Take it away for us, Bobano, Montana State, Kansas State.
I like Danny Sprinkle on that Montana State team quite a bit. They're a very solid team. I don't think it's crazy that they're getting points here in this game because I grabbed a nibble on Montana State at +9, but down to 7.5, and I didn't feel overly strong about it at +9, but I did think Montana State's got a good offensive basketball team. Really, really execute well offensively. They can play full court, half court, and the Big Sky sometimes does have issues matching up in the NCAA tournament. We've seen some ugly results for some teams from this conference, but the one thing I think you have to keep in mind too is Kansas State's had a great season. Is there a sign of it may be them that they peaked early, that they had their best basketball early in the season? We'll have to wait and see. I do kind of agree with the move, but I don't know if I want to make it official now at 7.5. In this game. I think we can see enough offense on both sides for the over, and that's what I will make official here is this total over the number here with Montana State and Kansas State. Both efficient, both I think should be able to make their shots at enough clip to get over a number in this range. So I'm going to go with over 139.5 -110 at Bet365.
I'm interested in joining you on this over. Sorry, Bobana, what was the line you got?
Over 139.5 -110.
I'm interested in joining you on this. It looks like it could come back to 8. It is at 8 at some books. Would that be a number that you could give out officially, or is just getting the 9.5 too big of a difference?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the point spread here. It's there are 8 still out there. Let me just double check here again. Because I bet 9, it's and it's like I say, at 9, it wasn't overly, a strong play for me at 9. So now with it being 8, let me deliberate on this a little further. I'll get back to you on it. But I like the over for sure. That is my strongest bet on this game, my strongest opinion on this game.
I'd like to join you on that over. All right, let's talk about a game very near and dear to my heart. I've got the Kent State Golden Flashes going to the Sweet 16. I also, without speaking to him at all about this, saw that Pistol Pete Loshak also has Kent State Golden Flashes going to the Sweet 16. Let's talk about Midwest region first round. 28-6 were Kent State this year versus number 4 seed Indiana Hoosiers. 22-11 we're at MVP Arena in Albany, New York. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. Let me move over here. Pop this up. Okay, here we go. We have Kent State. Oh, and Miggity the Mac Daddy. We have a C-Mac in the house. Great to see you, C-Mac. That's a big show today at 5 p.m. Big show today. Net profits. Indiana opening up at -4, -108. They're at -4, -106. They touched 4.5 yesterday for a couple hours, but it came right back. That was the only time it ever hit 4.5 over at Pinnacle. Totals wise, this opened up at 140.5 and has not moved. It has not moved. Jean Perez says, how are you fading Indiana? I'll explain it here in a second, John. But I get it. There's a reason why Kent State are underdogs. 54% of the tickets and 61% of the cash is on Kent State at this number. Then 55% of the tickets and 88% of the cash is on the under. 55 and 88 on the under. And this total hasn't moved at all. This is not a fade of Indiana for me. Although they can get hot and cold from outside. We all watched them go 2 of 14 from 3 against Penn State in the semis there. But this is a bet on Kent State. And I was on Kent State heavy against Toledo. Toledo had won 17 straight games. But the storyline here for Kent State was something that resonated with me. And I knew all year that I was going to be moving on Kent State. DC Capper on the under in this one. So, most of you guys know this. And I know Bobano talked about this a lot last year. But last year, Kent State had 4 players suspended on the eve of the MAC final for a pretty harmless video. They were rapping over a song singing F Akron. And it was a pretty harmless. And this ridiculous woke culture of ours, the DJ Johnson was the backup guard. He was, the main guy singing it. The guys were singing in the background or whatever. He uploaded the video. That was a mistake. But his life got ruined. He was suspended indefinitely by the team. He never played for them again. Malik Jacobs, Clarence Hornbeek, and Julius Rollins were all suspended for the first half of the championship game against Akron. Last year and this year, Jacobs is a huge piece to this team. Second leading scorer last year and this year. Last year, he second in assists, led in steals, led in rebounds, and he wasn't there in the first half. And they lose 75-55, and it was ugly. It was very ugly. This year, they went 15-3 in conference. They beat Akron, who they hate, in the semis. Then they defeated that Toledo team, 17, that had won 17 straight games. This team can hoop, man. Indiana's a good team. They went 12-8 in a very tough Big Ten conference. They beat Maryland 70-60 in the Big Ten quarters. When they aren't hitting their perimeter shots, they can get got. And, we all like to find – I knew I had a big bet on them to beat Toledo. I knew I was going to be sitting here with them to get to the Sweet 16. And seeing Dennis Garcia on Kent State moneyline makes me very, very excited. Look at Cheshire Cat. Look at the difference. It's so ridiculous. We protect our hockey players to the nth degree, and these guys, for this harmless video, had their lives totally ruined. It's absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit. I'm on Kent State Golden Flashes, Bobano. Take it away, my friend.
I am as well. I think Kent State is Indiana is a team that played well in January. Played well, I think you can say, in the early part of February. They did not play well in late February. They did not play well in March. And I don't like this form coming into the tournament, in all honesty, for Indiana. They lost a bad one to Iowa at home. Terrible loss. Lost to, albeit a resurgent red-hot Penn State, which I guess is not a big deal now with what we're seeing out of Penn State. They barely beat Michigan in overtime at home. Fortunate to get past that one, and they beat an up and down Maryland team. They also had a loss at Michigan State in there. I know they had the wins against Purdue, very impressive, but a lot of up and down basketball from them. Kent State's got the guard that can close a game late. If it's close late, Sincere Carey is the kind of guy you want on your basketball team. He's just an absolutely incredible guard, and Indiana just doesn't have that same guard play. That's absolutely right. I love Trace Jackson Davis. But I see a lot of flaws with Indiana, too, in terms of Race Thompson was supposed to be a really good player for them, and he hasn't been, I think, what they expected of him. Hood Schifino, I like. Miller Kopp is going to obviously make threes. You're going to have to watch out for him. No question about that if you're Kent. But I think when you look at Kent State, good guard play. I think the defensive game for Kent State got better and better as the season went on. I think for MAC standards, this was a team that played, one of the better defenses in college basketball going into this game. So, there are things that I like about Kent State. And again, they've got that ability to make shots. I don't think defensively they are going to be overwhelmed by the style of Indiana offensively. I feel this is a competitive game. I feel this is a close game, and we're getting 4.5 points in a game that I think Kent State's right there in the end. So I've got no issues whatsoever taking plus 4.5 here, minus 110 with Kent State.
Ooh, that is music to my ears. Music to my ears. There we go. Fun. Very, very, very fun. All right, let's keep.
It's also very fun watching the fact that you bet over 152.5 with Kennesaw State Xavier, and it's 37 points in the first 8 minutes. That's very fun as well.
Oh, that's a
great start for that. Yeah,
absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Anonymous, that's a completely different situation that you're talking about with Logan Mayu. Completely different situation. We're talking about a completely different thing here. We're not saying that no hockey players get punished. We're just saying that this group in 2019, did. That's all. And that's not the first time that whatever. We don't need to get in that bullshit. Okay, let's roll on. We are both on Kent State. A quick take on the total, although I don't really want to mess with my action here, but the under 140.5 is a big look for DC Capper. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. These are two capable defensive teams. Indiana's not exactly the team I think of as, they're going to roll up the scoreboard, and score a ton of points. And they were trending under, 6 of their last 10 games down the stretch. Kent State, they kind of trended over, but keep in mind the MAC's got a lot of really weak defensive teams, teams that you don't really trust consistently at the defensive end of the court. They're off a high-scoring game, albeit against Toledo. I think there's reasons to like the under. Neither team's going to play ultra fast either, so I think it's the numbers fair. Like I think it's probably going to be like 70 to 67, something like it's going to be right around this total. So I don't know if the value's the best, but I do lean under.
Oh, Cheshire, don't trip for a second, man. It's all good. No, there's no. It's all good, man. Love it. This is a sports show. Okay, I love it. We are locked in there. Let's move on to the final spot on the board. The 11 seed Arizona State Sun Devils 23-12 versus number 6 seed TCU Horned Frogs 21-12 over Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado. Let's go over to the line history to get us started. I think TCU is a really good basketball team. I love what I saw from Arizona State in the playing game. They got smacked in the mouth by Arizona in the conference tournament, and then they looked spectacular in the playing game. And they, almost any other 6 seed, I probably have Arizona State, but TCU I think is too good. Not saying that Arizona State can't cover, and I can't wait to talk about it. But at Pinnacle, they opened up Arizona State at 5. They were plus 5.5 until 9:40 this morning. They've come back to 5. So they're sitting at 5 right now. This total opened up at 140.5. It's now at 142.5. Let's take a look at the cash flow here for this one. Our final game of the round of 64. 59% of tickets, 71% of cash is on TCU. Then 42% of tickets, 52% of cash is on the over. 42 and 52 on the over. And it's gone up 2 points now. That last move, a full point up, was at 10:30 this morning. DC Capper on TCU. Johnny K liking TCU. Troy Torrance says not that impressive by Arizona State when you consider how Mountain West teams have played so far. He says TCU probably beats the brakes off them. And Andrew G says TCU money line is a parlay filler. Let's take a look at a quick table setting here. As we said, Arizona put up 98 points against Nevada. I mean, they look very, very, very good. And they look good beating USC 77-72 before losing to Arizona, a team where there was clear Rebenga for Arizona here. TCU looked awesome against Kansas State. They'd already beaten Texas and Texas Tech at Texas Tech, and then at home to Texas. Lost to Oklahoma. On seniors night for Oklahoma. I mean, that is excusable, I guess. Then they smashed Kansas State before losing to eventual conference champion Texas. I mean, those are all, that's a Big 12 scenario that I can explain and feel comfortable with. But I haven't moved on TCU because I'm a little nervous about what Arizona State did. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Arizona State, Sun Devils, TCU, Horned Frogs.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt there's some truth to the angle of the team that won in the first four. They've got momentum. It's part of the reason why I like Pitt. But I just think with Arizona State, their game against Nevada was very impressive, but a lot of that was Nevada was horrible, and Nevada played brutal down the stretch of the season. Terrible. I mean, the game, they were coming off just a brutal game that they played against San Jose State in the Mountain West tournament. Not at all the kind of performance that I was happy to see from Nevada in either game. And I think Arizona State, part of the reason they looked so impressive was just Nevada's that bad late in the season. So I think this is a much tougher challenge. And I like this TCU squad quite a bit. I'm not laying the 5, but I do lean to TCU here in this one. Do I get the job done? This is going to be a pass for me, but I do lean TCU.
So do I.
Yep.
And I'd like to move on it. By the way, we have action in from the Big Ragu. I own a first half plus 5.5. Kentucky first half minus 2.5. NC State, Creighton first half over 69.5. I'm going to pop that here right now. I kind of want to move on TCU. I kind of do. But what's the first thing that comes in your head is why you're not betting TCU here?
It's that angle of the team in the first four. They played a couple days ago. They're in good rhythm. It could take TCU some time to get into the flow. I think if you like Arizona State, the first half's not a bad option, but I just think it might take TCU a little time to warm up. TCU too down the stretch. Remember they had a lot of issues with injuries. Mike Miles was banged up. Lampkin missed some time as well. They didn't have the game-to-game set rotation that Jamie Dixon would have liked from this group. That's also something that maybe it's going to be trying to get this cohesion back once again for TCU. And this is the perfect game, I think, to get the cohesion and the kinks worked out in, because I still think they will beat Arizona State regardless of, the makeshift lineups they've had to deal with here down the stretch. But the factor of Arizona State playing the other day, having a little momentum and confidence going into this game early, definitely is enough to say, hey, pump the brakes. I do have TCU in some money line parlays. I should point that out. There are a couple of favorites that I did like to win, not so much lay the points. Like, for instance, I think Creighton is going to beat NC State, but I didn't love laying the 5, so I've got Creighton and TCU, as a money line parlay here today. I think there's another favorite that I was interested in here too. I'm trying to think of who it was, but yeah, there's a couple that I put in a money line parlay with TCU.
Well, let's review all action here. Sorry, if we push back 5 minutes. 5 minutes. We have 4 games in NHL that we're going to cap, and then we have Dutch Boy Fresh joining us for NBA. It's to 10:20 a.m. PST. All right. Let's review all action in college basketball. We have Cabby already cashing on USC first half +1. Bobano has Kennesaw State +12.5 in the over 152. Bobano is on UC Santa Barbara over 141 and UC Santa Barbara +11. I came close to moving on Baylor. I have St. Mary's -4, and I'm going heads up against Bobano, who's got VCU +4.5. Bobano is VCU going to the Final Four, and I like this spot here. Kennesaw is tied up at 23. Your spot looking very good there. Then Bobano and I are both on Vermont +10.5. We both already bet it, and those are official picks here. Bobano's on Pittsburgh +5. He's on the over 147.5 in NC State. Creighton. He's on Iona first half +5.5 -112. I'm joining. I'm coming on. Big Ragu also on it. I'm joining on Iona first half. I wanted to have some play with Iona, and I understand the idea that UConn will just break them down. Cab also gave us Miami first half money line, full game -1.5, -108. Memphis first half -116, and Kentucky first half -1.5. I'm going to add Kentucky full game to my action. Big Ragu also on Kentucky first half. Bobano is on Miami money line. He's on the over 153.5 in Grand Canyon, Gonzaga. He's on FAU +2 alongside Razor Sharp picks. And he's on the over 151.5 -115. He's on the over 139.5 Montana State, Kansas State. I'm going to join you on that. We're both on Kent State +4.5 -110. And that's already been bet. We're off Arizona TCU. And there you go. Dan Bonner in the house, ready for a little NHL action. And we already heard from Ron Crawford that he is on Buffalo as the spreadsheet play of the day. POD. Excellent work here. I can't wait to keep hammering March Madness with all of you. But Bobano, we turn the page and we head over to NHL, and then then Dutch Boy Fresh.
I was going to say I'll speed up the pace with my analysis here for this NHL because I just thought of that. You've still got Dutch to do NBA, so yeah.
It's all good. I just asked Dutch if he could hold back 5 minutes, so that gives us 13 minutes for 4 games. Which we can work here. Spreadsheet play today is on the Buffalo Sabres from our Ron Crawford. That's what will lead us into this. I came very close to betting the Buffalo Sabres, but I'm tired of betting the Sabres and seeing Luokkanen in net. If I don't know that Craig Anderson is in, if I can't get that confirmed, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be sitting here doing this again. So we'll find that out here if it's locked in. But shout out to Ron Crawford first and foremost. So we're coming off a 5-4 day in NHL plus 0.93 units. I was set up to have a big day. Montreal, Florida over 6.5 cash in 8 minutes. Senators money line was a loss. Oilers -1 was an easy casher. Coyotes +140 cashed. Flames, I didn't take them on the -1. I got cold feet. And I wish I had of on the money line. And then I'm sitting there with these overs in the night games. Now I'm sitting there, 4-1 ready for a day. Columbus Kings over 6.5 lost. Kings -1.5 cash. Seattle San Jose over 6.5 lost, and Kraken on the puck line loss. So 5-4 plus 0.93 units. Let's get to work here on the Sabres spot. Bobano, and here we go. We'll take a quick look at the line history here for it. This was kind of hovering around -135 and -140. Move over here. And we have now it's -132. So, the market not really moving towards the Sabres. This opened up at -136. It's now -142 or -132. Excuse me. It immediately went to -144. There was an 8-cent move when it was out for a minute. Total wise, this opened up at 6.5 -112 to the over. There's been a slight move towards the under. Craig Anderson, do we have him confirmed, Bobano?
Let me just double check.
I need him.
Yeah. I'm on Buffalo anyway, but you're right. I've not been impressed with Luukkonen. Not confirmed yet, though. Hart for Philly.
I will wait. And is Hart confirmed because he's been sick for the last 3 days? He's confirmed? Carter
Hart. He's back.
Okay.
Yep.
So he is back.
Craig Anderson is likely. Okay, we can't tell you. He's not confirmed yet, but likely. So we're leaning Craig Anderson here.
Well, I would like to move. Hart's been really bad all of a sudden. He was so terrible last year. He had a great start to the season. 1-6-2 over his last 9 with a 3.66 goals against average, 872 save percentage here. So he's been bad. Buffalo 3-5-2 over their past 10, 18.5% power play, 66.7% penalty killing. Philadelphia 2-7-1, 4.5% power play, 65.6% penalty killing. Sabres come in off their 5th loss in 6 games, 5-4 at Washington in a shootout on Wednesday night. We were all on them. They opened up with a 3-1 lead after one period. They're up 4-2 with 10 minutes left. But they were outplayed in every conceivable category. If you were watching the game, it was tough to watch. Outshot 39-27. They only won 25 of 65 faceoffs, and they were out hit 30-10. They still have a shot at the playoffs. I mean, yes, it's unlikely, but they're 6 points back of the Islanders with 3 games in hand. Now, the Islanders do hold the regulation win tiebreaker 30-25. Matthias Samuelsson remains out for the Sabres. Flyers coming off their 4th straight loss, a 5-3 setback at home to the Vegas Golden Knights on Tuesday. They were down 4-1 with 12 minutes left, and they made a game of it. They've been outscored 16-6 over those 4 losses. Travis Konechny remains on IR with an upper body injury. We've been waiting for Couturier to come back from the back injury. They kept saying February, March. I don't think they should bring him back. I also couldn't believe he's 30. I was like, I remember when he was being drafted like it was yesterday. Take it away for us here. Bobano, Sabres, Flyers.
Yeah, this is going to be 2 bets on Buffalo for me, actually, in this game. Buffalo minus 134 at Pinnacle, money line. We'll lock that in. They have to have this, okay? They lost the extra point to Washington. They had the lead. They couldn't hold it. It was not great defending. Costly penalties at bad times. Luukkonen, of course, not great in net. And they need this game. You got to beat Philly. Philly's struggling mightily right now. Torts is experimenting with a lot of different line combinations right now. They're looking toward the future. You got to come in here and nail down 2 points if you're Buffalo. I think they will tonight. And then Anderson being in net, who did play well against the Leafs actually when they beat Toronto on Monday night. He played very well. So I'm going to go with Buffalo money line minus 134. But I'm also going to add the team total over 3.5 plus 106 at Pinnacle. Sabres team total. I think they get to 4 goals here. Even in the loss against Washington, they got to 4 against the Capitals, scored 4 against Toronto, 4 against Dallas. The only game that stayed under this was the 2-1 loss to the Rangers. You look at the Flyers, all of a sudden, they've been giving up, at least 4 goals to the opponent in a lot of games lately. 5 to Tampa, 5 to Pittsburgh, 5 to Vegas. And a lot of those games, Carter Hart in net. And you mentioned how he hasn't played as well lately for the Philadelphia Flyers, and you're right. That's that he hasn't been. And look, the play hasn't always been great in front of him, but he's battling an illness. He's lost his last 2 starts. He's given up 9 goals in his last 2 outings against Tampa and Pittsburgh. So I think Buffalo can get 4 goals tonight. So I'm on those 2 bets, both Buffalo money line and team total over 3.5.
Yeah, I want the Sabres. I just do not want to see Luukkonen in between the pipes anymore. It drives me absolutely crazy. I just can't trust him. I want Craig Anderson, and I get it from the Sabres standpoint. I mean, he's not going to be playing next year, even though I would do whatever I could to get him to come back for another year and back up, but he's not going to be playing next year. At least Comrie's out, so I don't need to worry about him being in. I'm with you, Real Deal, and Bo Jackson. I would like to move on to Sabres as well. All right, let's move into the next spot on the board. 7 p.m. Eastern, Carolina Hurricanes 44-14-8, 26-6 on the road at Toronto Maple Leafs 40-18-9, 24-7-5 at home, Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. Toronto, excuse me. We have the Leafs open up at minus 120. They're now minus 111. It's a legit move towards the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes got some even money, but they're back at plus 101. Total wise, this opened up at 6 minus 113 to the over. There's been a slight couple cent move towards the under. Freddie Anderson, Ilya Samsonov. Anderson 17-7-0, 2.41 goals against average, 903 save percentage, 1 shutout. Samsonov 23-8-3, 2.36 goals against average, 916 save percentage, 3 shutouts. Carolina 6-4 over their past 10, 29.6% power play, 100% penalty killing, very impressive. Toronto 6-3-1, 24% power play, 78.6% penalty killing. Carolina snapped out of their offensive funk after back-to-back losses without scoring a goal. They defeated the Jets 5-3 at home on Tuesday. We were on the Hurricanes on the puck line, and I tried to get as many people off of the under as possible. They'd scored 1 goal in their previous 3 games. Svechnikov on IR with the torn ACL, but bounces are going to start going their way. And I do not believe Puljujarvi can handle that position. We just watched him not be able to play with the best players in the world. I don't see why he'd be able to, all of a sudden, just because he's wearing a different uniform in a city that doesn't care as much, succeed. Toronto comes in off its second straight loss, 2-1 in a shootout home to the Avs on Wednesday. Ryan O'Reilly, now surgery to repair his broken finger 10 days ago. It's 4-week recovery time, so he should be back in 2.5 weeks. They miss him. There's Son Dizzle in the house, our headliner at our big comedy show 9 days from now in San Antonio. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Hurricanes, Leafs.
Yeah, great game. Great game this should be. Toronto, I thought they played well in defeat against Colorado. It's hard to say they didn't play good. They played well enough to win. Unfortunately, it was a great goaltending battle, Georgiev and Samsonov in that game, and Colorado ended up winning in a shootout. We'll see how this one fares here. The tricky part about Toronto is these are the games you always get their best from them. They always seem to have those games where they sometimes play down to competition, and then they have those games where against the better teams they show up. They're going to wear their St. Pat's jerseys tonight, Toronto. So I don't know if that's going to impact them positively or not. But you look at the Leafs. I do lean to Toronto here. I don't know if I'm going to make it official. Carolina, they did lose 2 in a row there to Vegas, New Jersey. They got shut out in both games. They pounced on a Winnipeg team that's struggling. Let's not forget, Winnipeg's really struggling right now, and David Riddick was in net when they beat the Jets the other night 5-3. So I don't want to go too crazy saying Carolina's back now and feeling good again. We'll see who's in net. If it's Kochetkov, I'm off Toronto because I don't want to go against Kochetkov, Jimmy. That guy's the future in net for Carolina. He's really good. I am okay with taking Toronto here if it's Anderson, though, because I've not loved Anderson's game of late. Hasn't been nearly as good, in my opinion, and the stats bear that out. He gave up 3 goals to Winnipeg, 3 to Vegas. He gave up 3 to Anaheim as well. So his numbers have declined a little bit in his recent return from the absence that he had. We'll see how he fares tonight. Obviously, he's going to be usually fired up to play his old team, but Toronto has played well against Carolina. They've won 3 straight meetings head-to-head, including each of the last 2 here in Toronto. So I'm looking to play the Leafs here, but I'm waiting to see who's in net for Carolina.
It makes enormous sense how you're handling this spot. Big welcome back to Kenny Ken, back on the grind. We knew you had been gone for a while. We didn't know the circumstances, and awful to hear that. But wonderful to have you back. Open arms, Kenny Ken back in action with us. And you're home, baby. Let's get
Lose
that
your partner.
cash.
It's never a good thing, Kenny. Wish you well, and good to have you back.
Great to have you back,
Yep.
Kenny Ken. You're home, baby.
Yep.
Great to have you back. Now let's get that cash. Let's talk about this next spot on the board. 7 p.m. Eastern, St. Louis Blues, 29-33-5, 15-17-1 on the road at the Washington Capitals, 33-29-7, 16-13-4 at home, Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. Just talked about Peter Kochetkov being the goaltender of the future. This is the goaltender of the St. Louis Blues future. 6'5" Joel Hofer, 22-year-old 4th-round pick by the Blues in 2018 of the Swift Current Broncos in the WHL. I like the way he interviews. I like everything that he says. This guy's set up, I think, physically at 6'5" to be a great goaltender. He's been excellent with Springfield this year. 22, 14, and 4, 2.50 goals against average, 920 save percentage, and 4 shutouts. He played in 2 games last year with the Blues, so it's not like this is his first ever. And he won his first game that he ever, started with the Blues last year. There is Grice, but I think it's going to be Hofer here. We know that Binnington suspended 2 games.
It is Hofer. Yep. It is Hofer. Yep.
I want to back Hofer, but I'm not going to do it because I watched the way the Capitals took it to Buffalo. When you have a guy like Ovechkin, it's sort of the same thing with Crosby. When you have a guy like Ovechkin, he forces accountability even when you're out of the playoff race. And that's what we saw from the Capitals, who completely outplayed the Sabres in their last game. 22.6% power play, 88.2% penalty killing. It's Slatsy, Hofer, but those starts were last year. He hasn't started this year. The Blues coming off their second straight loss. It was an exciting 8-5 setback at home to the Wild on Wednesday night, but I lost on the Blues. They were up 3-1 after the first. Binnington, I love Binnington's interview afterwards, but he did, punch Hartman with the blocker in the face. And, you can't do that. And I wish he had a fought Marc Andre Fleury. It would have been fun. Buchnevich is rolling right now. Hit a hat trick in the loss. But the Blues are 3-8-2 over their last 13. I don't want Washington ever, but I think they could rally. The Blues could rally around Hofer. I'm just afraid right now to pull the trigger on anything, I guess. Maybe after I hear your breakdown. As I said, the Capitals outshot the Sabres 39-27. They won 40 of 65 faceoffs. They out-hit them 30-10. Take it away, Bobano. Our second to last game on the board here, Blues, Capitals.
Oh, yeah, I want no part of St. Louis. None at all. They're not playing well. And they're coming off that barn burner with Minnesota where it actually started well and they lost the game. And it was an emotional cauldron, bubbling cauldron, and the near fight with Binnington and Fleury, and tempers were frayed in that game. And now you got to ask them to pick it all back up again tonight in Washington against a team that's still trying to push for the playoffs. Yeah. And again, the Blues not playing well. So I don't want St. Louis, and I was definitely thinking I was going to be on the Caps in regulation here, but seeing Hofer start, does give me pause. And because I know he's got talent, this kid, there's no question. He started a couple years ago for the Blues. Didn't play that bad actually for them. He's had good numbers in the AHL, 2.5 goals against, 920 save percentage. And there is that element of, them wanting to win for him tonight in his first start this season with the St. Louis Blues. And then you start to think about it more, and is Washington the kind of team you trust laying minus 170, even against a team like St. Louis? I'm not so sure about that. I'm very tempted by the over. I still might bet that, quite honestly, because I really do think we're going to see goals. Both of these teams are trending over right now, and Kemper's not been great in net lately for the Washington Capitals either. He's had some struggles, and keep in mind, Washington, too, has had some injuries on the blue line. Nick Jensen and John Carlson. They both remain out for this team, and they have definitely had some issues keeping the puck out of the net with those players out. They gave up 5 to the Rangers, 4 to Buffalo. They did beat Buffalo, but they struggled again in terms of giving up goals. They gave up 3 to New Jersey, 4 to LA, 3 to San Jose, 7 to Buffalo before that, the first time they played the Sabres. So they haven't exactly been shutting teams down of late. So this does feel like an over to me. And the last 2 meetings between these teams have gone over. It's Hofer in net, though. He does have some talent, but he's also still very young. So I actually am going to bet the over here. I committed to that. I thought for sure we'd see Grice, and I would really like the over. But even with Hofer in net, I still think St. Louis will find the back of the net here tonight against this Washington team that's been giving up some goals. And I think the same of Washington. So over 6.5 minus 120 with Blues and Capitals.
Yeah, I'm hesitant here. I wish I could just bet Hofer, but I don't know if I'm able to here. Let's roll. Dan Bonner loving the over, and he's with you on that one. Last game on the board for us, Bobano, and let our guy Jay Peasy lead us in. His favorite look is Ducks, Columbus Blue Jackets over 6.5. And honestly, I didn't go over the line history I was so excited to talk about Hofer that I didn't go in the line history here. Line history in that one, Washington opening up at minus 165, now minus 174, and that total opened up at 6.5, minus 102. There's been a 20-cent move to the over. If Grice was in that, I'd be right there with you. Hundo. Let's move on to this final game here. And JPZ was the first thing I thought of, too. The very first thing I thought of was the over with these horrific goaltenders in that. Money line wise, Anaheim opening up minus 118. They're now minus 114. Totals wise, it's opened up at 6.5, minus 121 to the over. It's now minus 124. I was offered a minus 130. It's still there. It did drop to minus 125 for a few minutes. It's back to minus 130. Honda Center in Anaheim, California. Mike Hutchinson is absolutely terrible. I had every opportunity to be the backup in Winnipeg. Couldn't hold on to that job. Had an opportunity to be the backup in Toronto. Couldn't hold on to that job. He's just not worthy of being between the pipes. Lucas Dostal is not to be trusted, but he's a younger goalie who could improve. 3-5-2, 3.90 goals against average 898 save percentage. Columbus 3-5-2 over the past 10, 33.3% power play, 73.1% penalty killing. And I'm 5-2-3, 16.7% power play, 73.9% penalty killing. Those are last 10 day stats. Columbus on the second half of back-to-back after losing their 5th and 6th games, 4-1 at LA last night. Outshot 36-30, lost 29 of 49 faceoffs, but, and this is a big but, and the reason why the Kings, I don't know if they can make a run. They out-hit the Kings 33-12. Now you can say the Kings had the majority of the puck possession, and that would be valid, but still, 33-12. Johnny Hockey, 17 goals, 45 assists, 62 points in 65 games. He's a team worst, minus 25. He has just 2 power play goals on the season, and I pray they don't get Bedard. The Ducks come in off their second straight loss in 4th and 5 games, 6-3 home to the Islanders on Wednesday. They've allowed 11 goals over their past 2 games. Jakob Silfverberg added to the injury report with an illness. Adam Henrique not there. It's too bad. He was having a good season. Jamie Drysdale out for at least the next 2 weeks, and then another defenseman, Rio Avakanainen, done for the season with hip injury. Take it away for us here, Bobano. Last game on the board, Columbus, Anaheim.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas Dostal, by the way, is going to be in net for Anaheim. That is confirmed for this game. It'll be Dostal in net for the Ducks. Of course, we know who we think we might be in net tonight for the Blue Jackets after seeing Daniil Tarasov start last night in L.A. And obviously, we know Korpisalo got traded to L.A. Elvis Merzlikins remains out for this team, which means it's Michael Hutchinson time, most likely in net for the Jackets. And the last time we saw him against St. Louis, we know what happened. He struggled. He gave up goals in that game. Like, for me, it's definitely the over here with the Jackets and the Ducks, over 6.5. Like, Dostal's capable. I mean, but he's also a very young goalie. He's definitely been prone to inconsistency. He's had a couple of good starts. He's also been walloped in a couple others. So, I definitely think there's potential for the Jackets to find the back of the net. He's got a 3.9 goals against, 898 save percentage in 11 games this season with the Ducks. His last couple in particular haven't been great. 7 to Buffalo, 6 to Anaheim, or 6 to Tampa. He gave up 3 in his last start against Vancouver. So I definitely think the Jackets can find the back of the net, and I surely think Anaheim can find some offense here against Michael Hutchinson if he is indeed the starter. And with this being back-to-back, I've got to assume he will be in net tonight for the Blue Jackets in this game. So for me, easy decision here looking over the total. You mentioned how Anaheim last couple games have gone over, giving up 11 goals combined to the Islanders and the Predators. Jackets have gone over the total 4 of their last 5 games. Each of the last 2 meetings between these teams have gone over the total. 6-4 in Anaheim last year between these two teams. Earlier this season in Columbus, it was 5-3 for Anaheim. It went over the total. So pretty straightforward, pretty cut and dried, over 6.5 minus 120.
Yeah, I get it. I get it why JP loves it. I should just move on it. I don't really know.
Playing for exercise, no pressure to block shots, all that. Yeah.
I don't know why I stayed off of it. I was just caught up with college basketball. All right, that concludes our NHL breakdown here. Let's review NHL action. Bobano on the Sabres, minus 134. The Sabres team total over 3.5, minus 106. Spreadsheet play today from Ron Crawford is the Sabres. I'm going to jump on the Sabres too. Then Hurricanes, Leafs, I'm off. It could be a move towards Leafs for Bobano. Bobano's on the over 6.5 in Blues, Washington, and he's on the over 6.5 in Jackets, Ducks. And that's JPZ's favorite spot on the board as well, Ducks, Jackets. I will review your college basketball action one more time at the end of the show, Bobano. Excellent work, my friend. Have a great weekend. Thank you for sharing your hard work with us. Bobano will be starring in our Saturday and Sunday NCAA Pub Hubs in the morning, and he will be joining Jose on his live bet stream Saturday evening. Much love to you, Bobano. Thank you for sharing your hard work with us, my friend. Go out there and get that cash. Any last words for the Cappers supporting the show?
No, we just appreciate everyone tuning in. Hit the like button. We always ask that. It's not much. Just hit the like button. It helps us out quite a bit with every show. Thanks to everyone for joining us here on Betting with the Bag. Stick around for Dutch. He'll break down the NBA night well for you. And I'll be back later today with the NBA Pub Hub at 4 p.m. Eastern with Ski and with Billy Briz. So looking forward to that. And of course, Pub Hub this weekend. So good luck, Jimmy, Dutch, everybody in the chat. Lots going on. NHL, NBA, college basketball, NCAA tournament. Let's get that cash. Good luck, everyone. Have a good weekend.
There he is, Bobano. Still a ton of excitement left for us. An 8-game NBA card for us to attack. Our expert on Fridays, the star of our Friday shows, the freshest man in the